Thank you for coming to this live stream that's going to be really weird and interesting today. It looks like I can't see my feedback screen, so I can't actually tell whether you can see anything or not. Let me switch to the scene that I want. Video review. Okay, hi, you can see me, and you can see Reed there. Reed is currently live streaming on Twitch, awaiting interlocutors. We are about 6 meters apart, just far enough apart from the tables that as I talk, it wouldn't interfere with the conversation, just right over there that you're all watching with me. If you like if you like to interact, we are going to be very open mic today because if you speak in the Discord, you can be seen and heard. Just ask to be unmuted, and you can be seen and heard in this commentary stream. So there are actually two streams going on. One of them is Reed's stream on the Cordial Curiosity channel on Twitch. The other is the Juggling Lessons stream on YouTube, which will include commentary. I'm not sure if my camera is visible. All right, and I'm going to try to see if we can hear his Twitch stream. I don't know if Reed is speaking enough. And I'm going to try to see if we can hear his Twitch stream. I don't know if. Yep. So that's over his Twitch stream right now. He's got the Discord displaying. So if I were to do that, it would feed back through, and you'd hear that over and over and over and over. During the Olympus, he's going to mute Discord because Reed is happy to talk to us in Discord between interlocutors. When an interlocutor comes by, we're going to do a little switchy around, and Reed will no longer be able to hear us in Discord, and he will be focused entirely with his conversation partner. And we can sit back here and kibitz. Good. Everything's operational. That's good to know. Okay. Anyway, I am here with my lovely wife, Kimberly. That's not to say she's my only lovely wife. She's lovely and one of my wives. They're both lovely. But anyway, this is Kimberly wearing a rainbow puke cat mask. That's a good one. And she's happy to talk to you too. Mm. Later today, we expect also to hear from Eric Anderson, LFMT. I bet I got those letters wrong. And two people in Discord audience. Good. Very good. And if anybody of you would like to speak up, just let us know, and a production member will unmute you. And Kimberly, if you intend to speak, let me know so I can bring your mic up. Otherwise, I'm leaving it down just because you've got traffic noise in your direction, and we'll minimize that. Yep, yep. She's nodding like, yep, yep. She can stay quiet. That's all good with her. In the meantime, we are happy to address any questions that you have in right here in this chat. Hello, Dadas. Hello, Postmoses. Postmoses? Postmoses? I'm not sure how to best pronounce that. I think we may have an interlocutor.
Street epistemology, where we let any random person come up and say something they think is true, and we ask questions to try to learn and help people take a second look at how they came to whatever they think is true.
People care more about
Go ahead.
People care more about a TV show than they do kids locked up in cages.
Really, that's a good claim. Yeah. Good. All right.
I think that was his whole point. He might be leaving. So I heard his claim was that people care more about a TV show than kids locked up in cages.
So still waiting.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the Twitch stream audio so that Reed can talk directly in the Discord should he want to.
Going back to
I think in
Discord
this case
mode
today we're
with
going
Twitch.
to. Yeah, I muted Twitch. I will unmute Twitch if you get an interlocutor, and then I will assume that you will mute the Discord from going out to Twitch if you get an interlocutor. So at worst, we'll get a few seconds of overlappy, weird echoey, but it'll go away. Yes?
FK asks you to characterize the guest command to allow Dallas to speak and show camera.
Sure. So I'll say guest at Dallas. And then I will show a second camera. And the second camera got turned back off. Okay, so that the guest was not sufficient. All right. These highly innovative shows, you can really, really see the sausage being made as we try a thing and goes, it worked a minute ago. What happened? So Reed, from here, could you summon Zoom Doom to take the spot 2 parking spots behind itself? I'm not suggesting that you do it. I'm just wondering if that's the kind of thing that you could do. I agree. I think Reed is not hearing me.
I'm trying to add a low cut filter to the mics. What's a good frequency?
60 to 80, anything below that. My low cut filter doesn't have that much flexibility. It just is or isn't. You have such nice microphone mounts. I'm surprised that a low cut filter is relevant. Those microphone mounts seem like the awesome low cut filter, but either way.
I'm not suspended right. It's resting on something.
Oh, well. Perhaps the microphones are heavier than that mount is sprung for. Yeah. Our microphone choice. I've ordered the same microphones that Reed has, and that was one of those choices where I nailed it down. I narrowed down the kinds of microphones I wanted to really the same class from 3 or 4 different suppliers, from Rode or Shure or Electro Voice, and I was able to narrow down to that based on my own direct experience with the Rode microphone. And secondarily, and of course that was the Reed, and secondarily, the by getting online reviews, I could compare a reference voice to a whole series of microphones, and then through cross comparison, I could get a pretty good handle on which microphones were going to sound which kind of way differently. So I ended up with the very simple answer of ordering exactly the same mics that Reed has because I have experience with them, and I couldn't tell a difference between that and the equal competitors. And the Rode Procaster microphone is pretty heavy. I think it's most of a kilogram, which is sort of heavy for a mic. Okay, so thank you, Osmosis. So I will say, I will think of osmosis and put a P in the front, which is what they do on the International Space Station. They have a reverse osmosis filter in which P goes in one end and water for tomorrow's coffee comes out the other. I understand they achieve a 93% water recycling rate on the ISS. Yes. Yes, that's fine. It's fine. I shall go through that routine. A boo bop a loo wop a bop bam boom.
Eric says he's stuck in traffic 10 minutes away.
Ah, Eric is stuck in traffic 10 minutes away, he says. I just love how connected we are these days. So good. Okay. Anybody who's listening in the live show text would see that I just typed in showtime and then the thermometer bot that runs our show. I know. I bet you thought FK ran our show. No, no. The thermometer runs our show and FK runs thermometer. Looks good. He deleted the gap. No point for it now.
I don't know really what I'll use the whiteboard for.
A whole structure of post-it notes describing their argument in meticulous detail.
Yeah, but
I've seen
which
that
camera's
really
gonna
work.
see that?
Yeah, I was never able to get myself worked into that. So, oh well. Yeah, it is a very nice afternoon out. People are walking along in the park, talking, enjoying themselves. It's a beautiful day. In the neighborhood. Okay, no, that's enough. No copyright. Oh, you have a creepy factor for Mr. Rogers?
After he died, a lot of people came up and did weird claims for him not being normal.
Oh, yeah, I agree he was not normal. Oh, sure. So I'm going to type guest at Dadas. Kaboom. And if that works, that means that Dadas should be able to share his camera.
Yes, and hello.
There you
No,
go.
I have
Hello,
no camera.
Dadas. Good to
I'm
hear
only
from you.
sharing. Yeah, I'm sharing my
Yeah, that's
voice.
fine. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that. I don't see a speaking button. I guess as a guest, that would get whitelisted. Okay, that's fine. So when guests speak, this little speaking indicator doesn't show that part.
So
I appreciate the. Go ahead.
I'm the universe, yeah?
Yes, yes. You are a time exposure of the night sky.
Yeah.
That's where you are. It does not. Okay, I can hide it manually. I don't need to. That's fine. I'm quite happy with people having their name show up on the screen. Yeah, I'm interested a bit in that claim that the prior just momentary interlocutor had, where we care more about television shows than about kids in cages. And I hope that for me that it is not true. That if I could spend an hour to fix kids in cages, I'd be doing that instead. If I had any power to fix kids in cages, I want to put my power toward that.
Hmm.
I feel very, very, very powerless in regards to the decisions that have come from the White House in the last several years.
Yeah, it's working. It's working.
Good.
I've
Good.
been unguessed and now guested.
Yep. Good. Good. Glad to know that. And of course, anybody in the room who would like to speak up, generally I want you to be nicely open and available to speak up. And I think the only reason we're not unmuting the entire room is so that people who aren't used to the protocol, if they come into the room with their mic hot, we don't want them uh, uh, broadcasting their voice without intending to on YouTube. Part of it's a covering your own privacy thing, and part of it's trying to avoid disruptions. And generally, we have such an astonishingly polite audience that that it hasn't become an issue. Oh, yes. Okay. Go ahead. Yes. It seems good. It seems like Reed needs a cable that's a meter longer than it is. And it'd be really nice to have at least one more interlocutor than we have.
Yeah, but at least the weather is very nice over there.
It is very, very
Yeah.
pleasant today. So, Reed, would summon work from here to back the car up 3 parking spaces? I'm not suggesting that's something you should do, but yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah. And out of familial respect, it will avoid touching that 3. For anybody, if they're wondering about the question, Reed's car is a Tesla, and the 2 people behind us have moved out of their parking spaces. It's parked in a fine place. It's not very far away. I will flip my camera briefly to show you what I mean. You can see the cars parked there. If I hold it still for a moment, it might get sharp enough, and you'll see that Reed's car is the frontmost car in that spot, and there's at least 2 or 3 spots behind it that are empty at the moment. And that's enough. That's all you need to see. It was a car, parked. But you've seen, oh, somebody just parked in behind. So any summoning opportunity is gone for now. That's okay. That might be Eric. The timing would be about right. What an interesting name. Statics. It's sort of like statistics, but short. Statics.
Statics is a very important guy on the ACA Discord server.
Right.
Yeah.
Do tell. Wave back to you, Statics.
I mean,
So what do you do over there with ACA? And I should here, Statics, you can speak if you like, even show camera if you choose. Hello, Eric. We are live. Go sit down. Say hello to the people. Uh-huh. That's okay.
Way more SE practitioners than ever.
Yes. Yes, there are less people around than normal due to COVID, no doubt. And there were plenty enough people at Runyon Canyon. And then there were also a couple of people with badges and park ranger uniforms and an opinion that we looked way, way too much like a film crew to be allowed to operate without permits from the local municipality. And so technically we're just as much in violation in this park as that, but there was sort of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge if in this park or that park, they don't have monitors and don't bother with the thing unless somebody reports and complains and like that. You know, it's times like that when I really have to shoot my messenger from yanking out like a pocket First Amendment, whatever you call it. I'm going to switch
Am I
to the
close
Twitch
enough
so
to the
we can
mic?
hear them.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Do you mind if I record?
No, you can totally record.
Cool. Do you mind hitting the record button? It's a little further away than usual.
Let's see.
It's at the top.
Okay, and that turns on that GoPro.
Yep. And I think that's going. Sweet. So, Eric, how's it going?
Hey, Reed. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen you in person since January.
Really, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, so you were a guest on Dolly's show a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the therapist guy.
I'm the therapist guy. Yeah, I'm the guy who's mostly a therapist and then dips into street epistemology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this your first time in person street epistemology?
This is my first time sitting down in person with you guys. I
Nice.
wanted to do this since before January.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't know how this is going. We went to the Rose Bowl 2 days ago and had like 2 people in like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
It was a weird place because the usual place was all fenced off for some drive-in comedy show or something.
Okay.
And then we were at Runyon this morning and they kicked us out because they saw we had cameras and stuff. And they had a bunch of stuff fenced in. It's like there's a lot of extra precautions going on.
But you go to Runyon every once in a while.
I've been going for 4 years and never had an issue until today.
Damn. Okay.
It was weird.
Huh.
But we're here at Griffith Park.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
Cool.
Did you want to chat about something?
Yeah, I had a couple topics I was thinking about. One I could talk about was the claim we should end the war on drugs as a nation.
Okay.
Another one is the claim that a statement is only true if it also entails predictions about the world. So like things cannot be true or false unless they have a prediction that they would make about the world. So those are 2 statements that I would be willing to defend, 2 claims. Or not defend, but like explore with
yeah.
street epistemology.
Street epistemologize.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah. A statement is true if it makes predictions, pretty much.
Yeah.
And,
A statement can only be true or false if it makes predictions. Like sort of statements that don't make any predictions can't be true or false.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the U.S. should end the war on drugs.
Yeah. I think the war on drugs is the easier one to do with street epistemology. As the other one is maybe more of like this like weird meta claim that's hard to explore.
Yeah, That's like direct epistemology, pretty
That's
much.
just epistemology. It's
Well-
not really street at all.
Yeah, that should be on every tower somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But we can do the U.S. should end the war on drugs for a little bit, sure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, they should.
So cool. And what do you mean by that claim? I guess any weird words? I think I understand, but just want to explain more what you mean about that.
Yeah, I think that claim entails a couple things. I think it claims that the average citizen would be better off if the U.S. ended the war on drugs. I think it entails that, yeah, I think that's the average citizen would see the quality of their life improve if the U.S. ended the war on drugs. So I think that's what I mean by should.
Yeah. What is the war on drugs?
Yeah, the war on drugs is a set of policies that makes the possession, use, sale, and distribution of certain substances illegal.
Possession, use, sale, and what else?
Possession, use, sale, and distribution.
Distribution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the set of policies that relate to the war on drugs about limiting possession, use, sale, and distribution of drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you mean by drugs?
So drugs, I'm thinking of when I think of drugs, I think of mind-altering substances, but when I think of the war on drugs where certain drugs are prohibited, because for me, like alcohol, caffeine, tobacco, and even something like antidepressants, these are all drugs to me. They have psychotropic properties, they have a way of changing the quality of your consciousness, but the government thinks of drugs in terms of drugs that are on the DEA schedule list. So like Schedule 1 drugs are things like cannabis and heroin, and those are seen as having a high risk of abuse and no medical use.
Cannabis is in the same category as heroin?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay,
LSD is also there. Psilocybin is also there, which are magic mushrooms. So they're seen as presently having no approved medical use and a high potential for abuse. Yeah.
No approved medical use or a high potential of abuse.
Yeah, I may be getting the wording slightly off, but I think that's how the wording is in the scheduling system used by the DEA.
Okay. And by ending the war on drugs, I assume these set of policies that relate to these types of drugs.
Yeah, I'm meaning something close to decriminalization. I actually want to go, decriminalization is what many people support. I actually would go further than decriminalization. I think there may need to be some regulation, like we still regulate alcohol and tobacco. It's illegal for minors that are defined in different ways for alcohol and tobacco to possess and use. It's illegal to sell to minors.
Okay.
So I think I'd want something like that with other drugs.
Gotcha. So I think we're ready for a confidence scale. So if like the super clarified claim is the U.S. should decriminalize Schedule 1 drugs with some regulation, pretty much. Yeah.
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Where would your confidence be for that?
So is white high confidence or is white low confidence?
High.
Okay, so white is high confidence. So right now it's at,
Is that the left side? No, the black is high.
okay, so black is high confidence. I'll go over here. I'll put it at like my credence in that claim is somewhere like a 0.99.
Okay. Can you
Yeah.
show that to your camera?
Yeah, how can I show it to my camera? Do I oh, it's a magnet.
Yeah,
there.
it's a magnet.
Mhm.
Okay, gotcha. Sweet. And what are some of your main reasons for this?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I have a number of
Can
experiences.
you, tilt this down a bit?
Yeah, totally.
Just
Do
like
I
toward
tilt the
you.
frame?
Yeah, do
Let's
that.
see.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. I had to move it away from me. I'll stand
A
closer.
little up a bit.
A little bit up. Okay.
Great.
How you
Okay.
got me now?
So some reasons.
Yeah, I think there are we can support this some with history, such as how did alcohol prohibition in the U.S. work? What have some of the consequences been since we stepped up a number of the the ways that we enforce the war on drugs since the 60s. What was the landscape of drug use like before and after alcohol prohibition? What was the landscape of drug use like before and after ending prohibition in other countries, such as Portugal, or the Swiss have had very particular ways of handling this. The Dutch have had different ways of handling this. What are some of the ongoing consequences we face? Do we have lower addiction rates? Do we have lower rates of use? Those are some of the things that I'm interested in exploring and using to justify my beliefs about this, whether or not it would be better for the average citizen.
Okay, so like main categories is like history and consequences.
So yeah, mostly historical and like historical analysis of looking at how has this played out in the US? How has this played out in other countries? I can actually hear the squirrels over there climbing on the trees in your mic. Your mic's picking that up.
These are crazy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So you mentioned prohibition. That was a ending of war on alcohol.
Yes.
But then we,
Yeah.
no, that was a war on alcohol, and then we ended the war on alcohol.
Yeah. So let's talk about prohibition.
Yeah.
There was a large temperance movement in the U.S. before that. That was because the U.S. had really high rates of alcohol use, like in the amount of alcohol consumed by the average citizen was enormous. So there was a big temperance movement. Eventually, it culminates in, into the prohibition movement, which I think alcohol use had already been going down a bit before prohibition. But then during Prohibition, we see sort of the initial Prohibition was an interesting thing because it sort of gives you information about the demand for alcohol is pretty static, but the supply for alcohol would suddenly receive a supply shock, right?
Yeah.
So right after Prohibition starts, there's no illegal network set up yet to distribute it. There's no black market. So we see use go down in the first couple years. And then historians looking at like rates of reported use, how much the average person seems to consume alcohol, those seem to climb back up to around pre-Prohibition eras, around the pre-Prohibition levels, a couple years after Prohibition's enacted. And then we almost see the opposite effect where when we end that alcohol prohibition, alcohol use climbs and then returns to the levels that it was around after sort of a black market had been established to distribute and sell alcohol.
Okay.
So does that part of my claim make sense? Did I make that clear?
Yeah, it's like if we prohibit something, there will be a black market. That's one aspect, with also
Yeah.
the aspect of whether it's illegal or legal, the demand level kind of stays the same.
Yeah, it seems like people consume about the same before Prohibition as they do well into Prohibition, as they do well after Prohibition is ended. But starting a Prohibition or ending a Prohibition can have a shock to the system that either creates a temporary drop in supply and thus reducing consumption, or a temporary increase in demand. Is that, oh, Prohibition's over, I want to try alcohol.
Yeah.
I didn't try it, and then people try it.
Does that directly, and is that directly analogous to like the other drugs like Schedule 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
So marijuana, we would accept the same thing, that like basically the amount, we see a sort of equilibrium state. There's an amount of people who would use pot, and then Prohibition, if we have like a new Prohibition, like it may shock the distribution networks and suddenly people can't get it, so their consumption drops. And then if you make it legal, like we have done pretty much legal in a way in California, again, legal with regulations, we'll probably see, my expectations around legalization in California is that you see usage rates go up for the first few years after the end of Prohibition, and then we'll see usage return to around legalization levels.
Gotcha. Sweet. All right, so that's that's the main reason with history relating to Prohibition and the black markets and the demand.
Mm-hmm.
And you also talked about consequences of like lower rates of abuse.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things about Prohibition, so during the Prohibition era, if I want to distribute alcohol, if I want to sell alcohol, a black market encourages me, well, I don't really want to transport beer. Beer is big, it's heavy, one dose is 12 ounces. It's a lot that I have to carry around. So instead, I'm going to bootleg liquor. So I give people what is essentially a harder drug that gets to the brain more quickly. So that's like the difference between something like whether I'm gonna smoke opium or shoot heroin. Like, heroin is a lot more concentrated than opium. I don't have to smuggle nearly as much, and people primarily take it via routes like injection, or smoking. Well, I mean, you can smoke either, but it seems like having a state of prohibition encourages us to smuggle more concentrated drugs because I have to hide them. Transportation costs are much more high. And then I end up giving people these sort of, well, what I have is heroin. Like, I don't really have opium, like in the same way where during Prohibition it was like, well, what we have is liquor. We don't really have beer. Like, if you're getting your beer, it's made locally or grown locally. But some of the incentives seem to change it so that people end up taking harder drugs than they even wanted to because that's what's available during Prohibition. Like right now we have a big problem with fentanyl. It's very unlikely people would use fentanyl except the dose is in the micrograms, so it's easy to smuggle a lot of it. So we get problems with impure drugs, harder drugs that get into the brain more quickly than people would like, which really lead to higher rates of addiction because we see higher rates of addiction in people who drink hard liquor than we do in people who drink beer or wine. And often people would prefer things like beer or wine that aren't as inebriating. Same thing with things like opium or other things like people smoking pot flower instead of cannabis oil that I think is starting to become popular in a post-prohibition state, but I think we'll see a decline in popularity in a few years.
Okay, gotcha. So it's like the consequences of prohibition basically is like the more concentrated drugs you get if it's prohibited, less supply.
Yeah.
So if we lifted that, we would likely have less concentrated drugs and therefore less dangerous? Or less
Yeah, I think
harmful?
in general, people have a demand for less concentrated drugs like beer, cannabis, like natural buds, like opium, and states of prohibition where it's like transport costs are high because there's a black market and I have to transport it out of view of police and stuff. It seems to incentivize more concentrated substances like heroin, fentanyl, now like wax, THC oil, or hard liquor.
Okay. And how could we test these reasons if we found out these reasons? Well, first, if we found out these reasons were tested and
Yeah.
just everything you said was false, would that change your confidence about this?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That would change my
So
confidence.
these are
totally.
the real reasons connected to
Well,
your confidence?
those are some of the reasons. Some of the other reasons are, I think I talked about prohibition incentivizes harder substances, which I explained some of the mechanism of how that comes to pass, but it also incentivizes a black market. If I'm a normal business and something bad happens to me, I go to the police and I say I was robbed. If I'm a drug dealer and something bad happens to me, I'm robbed, well, I can't go to the police, so I have to have my own gun and sort of enforce my own justice. So black markets create things like people trying to arm themselves, enforce their own justice. They can't turn to the police. There are lots of negative consequences for that. One of the ways to think about it is, well, who engages in drug dealing? Well, it's criminals, people who are already willing to use violence to enact like their own justice. So I think that's undesirable. I think I'd rather have legitimate businessmen because right now, if you have a criminal who's selling drugs, he's interested in maximizing his profits. He's interested in using violence to enforce his own concept of justice. He might be a little bit of a sociopath because this is his career and he has sort of a dark view of humanity and is willing to do what it takes to get what he needs. And he's also probably willing to sell drugs to children because he doesn't care. He just wants to profit. So right now, there's not really a disincentive to sell drugs to children. Whereas alcohol, it's kind of like, well, I mean, it's a little, I can lose my alcohol license if I sell alcohol to children. I can get my liquor store in trouble if I sell alcohol to children. There are certain disincentives that are there in terms of who do I sell to that aren't necessarily there for a drug dealer who's like, if you have money, I mean, maybe the disincentive is children don't have a lot of money, but we can also set up that second barrier of not only do children not have a lot of money, but this is something that's legal to sell, but you need a license to sell it, and we'll take away the license if you sell it to children. I think that would be a positive change. So there's the violence of the black market, there's the lack of disincentive to sell to children, and then there's the overcrowding of our prisons. I think we don't necessarily see people go to prison just for drug offenses right now. I think there's actually, people think that our prisons are primarily overcrowded because of drug distribution and possession. And I think less than 20% of the people in our prisons are there for just those reasons. But I think a lot of drug dealers end up in prison because of the violent acts that they commit in order to defend their trade. And so people are then, okay, you're a drug dealer, but you're committing murders, you're threatening people, you're using weapons, and those are what really get people in prison. So I think we would see a large reduction in that because we end the black market, we bring into the realm of legitimate businessmen who can turn to the police if they have a problem, who need licenses to sell and are disincentivized from selling to children, and I think that improves things as well.
Gotcha. I think I understand your reasons now. Now, going back to the confidence scale, you're pretty close to the top already, but what could you learn to raise your confidence even more?
Yeah, I think the thing that I could learn that would raise my confidence more would be more experiments in other countries, learning more about experiments in other countries. If another country went through with the sort of policy changes I'm proposing, and if they saw their black markets dissolve, if they saw their tax revenue increase, rates of addiction stay constant or go down, if they saw fewer people in prison, and more like pro-social behavior and positive effects to their economy as a result of this, I think that would increase my confidence even more. And I'm really interested in seeing other countries follow through with these policy changes because I'm really interested in what will happen if they do this.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned like experiments in other places. If we did those experiments and they just went the wrong way in your mind, would that change your confidence?
Yeah, if drugs were legalized in a country and rates of addiction skyrocket and stay high for more than 5 years, whereas like we don't see a new adjustment equilibrium, like if they have just an epidemic of users and people don't develop sort of the like, oh, well, I certainly don't want to take the heroin, I just want to smoke the opium every once in a while. And if unleashing that into the world is a Pandora's box that creates huge rates of addiction, I think that's bad. It would totally change my view on this.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that would lower it?
Yeah, I think if we saw rates of violence stay constant, if we saw that like this didn't reduce prison populations or violence, that might make me a little less confident. But I think the real thing is the rates of addiction would make me less confident if rates of addiction go way up, if rates of use go way up, and by addiction I mean people who continue to use despite negative consequences. Some of those negative consequences being that they are less socially, economically productive, and they're sort of abusive to their families. Like that would be a negative consequence that I think would be unacceptable. So, and I think that's why we end up having things like prohibition and the war on drugs, is trying to reduce the consequences to the economy and society and families of substance use.
Gotcha. What's the strongest case against this that you've heard?
Yeah, I think the strongest case against this is that some drugs are so addictive that they all inevitably have negative consequences to society. So we definitely need to keep them out of people's hands. And I think there are countries like Japan, which are really successful at doing so. Like Japan has extremely low rates of drug consumption outside of things like alcohol and tobacco and caffeine. I had a friend who lived in Japan who was able to get pot, but it was like really dangerous and a bad idea for him to do so. Japan's largely been successful, but I'm not sure you'd see a lot of negative consequences to Japan if you saw decriminalization or legalization there, in part because they have such they're cultural forces that are almost like protective factors against certain kinds of substance use, I think would make it so that it'd be unlikely that you'd see those changes happen. As sort of like a culturally isolated country, they've had very little exposure to like other ways of engaging with substance use. And as such, it never really caught on in Japan, it never really caught on in China. These sorts of places, Southeast Asia is a place where you see very low rates of cannabis use, in part because the culture is so negative about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say we did whatever you prefer we would do, and 10 years later, what's like society look like? How is it different than today?
Yeah, I think society, we're already starting to see a little bit of this in California, where we've got pot shops that look like the Apple Store.
Right, yeah.
So we see people don't have to like send secretive text messages in order to buy pot. They just go down to what's essentially the Apple Store. Oh, I'm going to MedMen. You need anything? Yeah. So these people are no longer too exposed to people who sometimes feel worried about their livelihood and safety, who might be armed and like sort of paranoid about police. So I think it increases the general person's safety if they're a substance user. And I think many people don't identify as substance users, even though they do things like drink coffee, which is a psychoactive substance, or drink alcohol, which is quite a psychoactive substance. So what does society look like in 5 years? I expect to see, many people, I would expect to see higher rates of consumption immediately following the end of prohibition. I'd expect to see many people trying substances, and even maybe some people finding that they do have a problem. Like, so higher rates of opiate addiction as people go, well, I want to try it. But I expect that after 5 years, we'll see pretty constant rates, we'll see rates that are comparable to pre-prohibition levels of addiction and problems related to substances that affect things like people's social networks, economic behavior, and families. But we'll no longer see the negative consequences of addiction that relate to the criminal justice system, because there will be very little change to the incentives to things like steal to support your habit. There will be very few changes. Well, the big change that will happen is that you'll no longer get arrested just for using or just for selling. And you will no longer see people engaging in violence to protect their trade, because now they can turn to the police, who, this is also like another theory I have about the world that comes from sociology. Police really ought to have the monopoly on violence. Like, we don't necessarily want the average person to say, well, I don't like what my neighbor did, I'm going to go over and kill them, like, if the neighbor takes their stuff. And the same thing is true if you have a drug dealer. Do they have a legitimate business and someone steals from them? Do they call the police, or do they take out their gun and try and try and enact revenge on the thief after it's happened?
Yeah.
Like, I'd much rather them call the police. And I think that is a positive change. So I think we'd see lower rates of violence, similar rates of addiction, but like probably similar rates of like theft and other things that might be related to people trying to support their addiction. I think you're still going to have the negative behavior of addicts, but I believe that this change will lead to addiction being about constant after we reach that post-prohibition equilibrium. Did that seem to answer the question?
Yeah, I think I understand.
Okay.
Gotcha. So I think I very well understand your position about this. This is great. Have your confidence changed after this? Even more confident or less?
Yeah, no, I think I feel like I ought to adjust my confidence because I have not read as much as I feel like I ought to about the experiments done in Portugal and Switzerland. I've read like a few brief articles, but I haven't really read in depth about it.
Yeah.
One of the books that really convinced me of this position was a book by Jacob Sullum, one of the editors of Reason magazine, called Saying Yes in Defense of Drug Use.
Gotcha.
So that was the book that gave me a lot of these arguments and positions, and then I've come to continue to see it this way, even as I worked for years in addiction treatment as a psychotherapist. And I've sort of got to live through some of these changes in California as we've liberalized our laws around pot.
Yeah.
And I think my position has stayed constant on this, even as I was exposed to those different things. Even like working with addicts, very few of these people would have not become addicts if drugs were legal. They probably would have faced these consequences either way. It seemed like the problems in their lives that led them to this point would have existed either way. But it sounds like they would probably come into treatment sooner because they wouldn't be so afraid to talk about their substance use with people because it wouldn't be a crime. And I think they wouldn't have to worry about things like getting arrested even as they're trying to get clean. Because many of these people relapse as they're trying to get clean and sometimes disappear from treatment because they got arrested because they picked up from the wrong person as they were trying to get clean. They deleted their dealer's number, they got to find a new place to pick up cocaine, and their new dealer turns out wasn't a dealer.
Okay.
And they get arrested for that. And so that can be, it's like, I certainly want that person to stay sober, but I don't think getting arrested necessarily helps that process a whole lot.
Sweet, sweet. All right, cool. Thank you, Eric, for that. And sweet. All right, we'll end it there for that talk.
Sure.
Yes, thank you,
Nice.
thank you. That was awesome. Now, if anybody in the room
I assume
has
Dolly
any
was doing commentary.
on
He's
this,
doing a stream
I'm
on
just
his
gonna
YouTube
start
channel
with,
Oh, okay.
and doing
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
so I don't know how
keep
well that
listening to
was
that.
going.
So after hearing my position, did you have a position before I started talking about this on this particular subject?
I'm like the same way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. Hello.
Okay.
How are you? Would anyone like to do an
Yeah.
interview? Anyway, awesome.
So I'm gonna mute Twitch there for a moment, and if they have a high sign that they're actually going to go back into a Linkus, I'll switch back. And for now, I'm interested in feedback from the Discord on that particular one. I can certainly start with my own saying, "Wow, that
All
was
right, I'm
just
back.
textbook perfect." I detected no messengers at all from Reed. From within that Linkus, I don't think anybody would have been able to tell what position Reed was on. I really, really appreciate how thorough Eric provided good reasons for his side. And if somebody was it did not have an opinion about this, they probably would now, I think.
Yeah, it's so test. Yeah, it's so hard when you have someone who just obviously connects evidence to the claim and says if the evidence was wrong or false, they would change their mind.
Yeah.
And can obviously make predictions.
Not used to that.
It's very different from the usual crowd.
You say it's so hard. It's in some regards it's easier, right?
Yeah, mainly just
For me, it's like you fall through the flowchart really fast into
good
those
answers.
conditions. Yeah,
Yeah,
indeed.
but then again, you can't say anything about it because basically if Reed is somewhere around the same position, but the part where we rephrase what the interlocutor says in order to check if we understand them correctly. Well, basically with this kind of flow of words, it's impossible, or you would have to be on the same level as Eric in order to rephrase his words, and that's kind of difficult. That's why you read.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
tried
read.
to rephrase in
Yeah,
the main bullet points rather than the specific sub bullet
yeah,
points.
yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna give it a try. I want to see if I can rephrase Eric's position. I think he says that prohibition costs the user a great deal of risk in the world, and that while prohibition can show a short-term shift in behavior, the long-term shift in behavior is um, largely unaffected, and therefore the cost of maintaining prohibition becomes ruinous to the society at no long-term benefit.
Points to me, which are the costs that we spend on enforcement, which are enormous. We spend a lot of police resources and money. The costs that we spend on enforcement. But in addition to cost of enforcement, there's also the cost of keeping people in prison and losing their
Yeah, you'll need
economic
to get on
productivity
Discord.
while they're in prison. The cost.
Yeah, you'll need to.
I think I'm messing up here because the only way I can hear Eric is through the Twitch, not through Discord.
That should help.
Okay.
I'm on push to talk on my iPad.
I don't know.
You'll be able to listen in and say stuff on your phone. Just yeah, just turn the volume down on your phone
Okay.
and we'll listen in. Yeah.
Are we?
Just turn the
I'm back
volume
on
down
Discord
on your
mode.
phone
Mute the Twitch.
Okay.
and we'll listen.
We'll talk to you through the
I don't
iPad.
have permission.
So now I've muted Twitch for the moment so that we can engage the room.
Yeah, give Eric permission.
Daddy.
Ah. Is your username Eric? Just Eric? Is that correct? Thank you. Yes,
Okay, I
so
think I have
much.
permission now.
There you go.
Let's see.
I can hear that they are speaking, but I don't hear them through Yeah, tech overload, no doubt. We're trying to do something pretty crazy. We're trying to do something pretty crazy.
to work, so that's why.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm testing whether I
So
should be
test, you
bringing
can
up
hear
the
me?
Twitch or not. Yes, we hear you. Very good. We hear Reed.
Yes.
Can you
we
hear me
Reed.
through this?
Yes,
Yes.
I hear Dadas and I hear Eric.
Yes.
And okay, I've got myself coming through my headphones too.
I think that's because he's broadcasting to Twitch what's in the Discord, which might mean you have a slight delay, which might make it talk like this.
Yeah, just take off these headphones and be on Discord.
Okay.
He has a mixer. Kimberly, would you take a picture of over Reed's shoulder of his small Zoom mixer? I've got the LiveTrack L8, and he's got the Zoom, probably, I forget what the name of it is, but it's probably where mine has 6 input channels, I think his has 4, which is hardly different. And it's got nearly the same functions in something like handheld layout. Video is flickering in and out. I will reset myself.
I'm gonna get up and stretch.
Okay, it should be available now. Yeah, link to the stream, sure. I think that's a link to the current stream. Should be. So Reed, I found it very difficult to speak over any of that. It was a continuous stream. And any commentary I would have made would have ruined his next sentence, whatever he was going to say. Obviously, commentary between, no trouble. Commentary during, if there were a lot of aporia, I'd have a place to talk, but otherwise, I'm stepping on people. Of course, I don't have a pause button. I can't pause you. Yeah. Well, it would have been easy for me to say things, but it would have been stepping on you to do so. So it's a trade-off. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I wonder if it would make a difference if like type the live commentary and have that appear on the screen.
Yes. We did some. And like for example, when you made your claims, I put it up on the screen. And you made 2 different claims, and I had the wrong one up for part of the time. Yeah, it was sitting there saying that claims made about the world, if they don't make predictions, can't be true or false. Yeah. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. Ah. What is slow? Oh, the picture? Yes.
Yeah. Eric is not coming through clear. I mean, we can't hear him, at least on Discord. We heard you, Dolly, but didn't hear the other party.
Yeah, I didn't even have my mic on. Now I've got
Okay.
my mic on.
Yeah, now
Okay.
it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
I don't want to mess with your audio, so I've got to step away from your table because I need the speaker so I can hear what's going on Discord.
I bet you'll find out that from that angle, you could stand right there and talk, and they would not hear you.
And your mic's not going to pick it up? Or, I mean,
This
pick up
is
the audio from this.
This is an extraordinarily directional and careful mic.
All right. Were there any questions from Discord that I missed?
Let's see.
Live
Yeah,
show
you
text.
try sitting down over here, Eric, and I'll just turn down this mic.
Let's see if there were any questions. I didn't detect any questions as we went through. Somebody said squirrel.
Yep. I see that.
There's some massive squirrels around here.
Yep. Antidepressants and things. Yes, and tings. Yep. Antidepressants and tings.
Yeah, I like Near's discussion about what are the benefits or downfalls of psychiatric drugs, but that would be much more of a discussion and probably much less of an SE, although I'm sure we would talk about our reasons for why we feel the way we do.
I don't remember in which country it was, but there was this experiment where they legalized drugs and they actually prescribed drugs to addicted people, and they would be able to take those drugs. I mean, to have them applied to them through nurses.
Yeah, that
Actually,
might be the
yeah.
Switzerland experiment I was talking about. The Swiss ended up having a referendum on their changes on approach to heroin because the Swiss had a big problem of people being in parks and abusing heroin and sort of being in these public spaces and using there. And in an attempt to change that, they said, well, we'll have these nursing facilities where users come in and actually receive injections of heroin from nurses. And the Swiss later had a referendum on this policy change. I think it stayed in effect with 70% of approval from the Swiss population. So that's a pretty big majority saying, I feel like this was a general benefit.
Yeah, but I mean, you can actually, consistently lower the dose and get people out of it.
Yeah, the other thing that was available to people in that particular system was counseling. So the nurses would always say, hey, I'm going to give you your dose, just to let you know, if you're interested over there, you can receive some counseling about your use. And even if you're ready to stop, that's fine. If you don't want to stop, that's fine as well. But they kind of let them know it's there, and they kind of always know it's just one step away. So they make counseling and help quitting or reducing very easy. I mean, that's like the transaction cost of getting in the door to receive counseling is like just moving to the other room. That is a great way of getting people to get help who want to quit, because there are usually small windows where people are ready to quit. So it's great to make it available like that, but not necessarily even pressure people, because at that point you don't need to pressure people. They're in there so much, they think about it, well, if I ever wanted to quit, it's right there. So they actually see lower rates of use, I think, after that policy even.
Yeah.
Nice. Good question. I would love to hear SE between Reed and Eric either. I would love to. Near says, I would love to hear SE between Reed and Eric either way about the benefits or downfalls of psychiatric drugs.
Kimberly.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to hear about the downfalls of psychiatric drugs. So would Quinn.
Yeah, my approach to that is, well, I mean, I'm a psychotherapist. I don't prescribe drugs. I talk to many of my clients take psychiatric drugs, and I've seen a number of psychiatrists for my own mental health. But yeah, technically, as a therapist, when I'm in a counseling setting and I'm providing someone with help, it's supposed to be outside of my area, outside of my competence as a therapist. So that's something I'm not supposed to comment on when I'm working as a therapist. I don't think there's a prohibition once I'm not in the room as a therapist, but I already feel antsy about it because I know as a therapist in the room, if I tell my clients what they should do with psychiatric drugs, I can get a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a wicked weird frog you've thrown in there. Ah, took the frog away. Ah. All hail Hypnotoad. Yes, yes, indeed. Ah, Hypnotoad.
All
For
glory to the Hypnotoad.
indeed. There's let's see. I'll just show you what FK has thrown into the room. Yes, yes, indeed. Bows to the Hypnotoad. Yes.
Can I just jump in and say,
Yes,
New
please.
Zealand has actually just had a referendum for cannabis legalization,
Nice.
and yeah,
Good.
currently came through. 53% of the population have said no.
53%. Ah,
Yeah,
well, it's close.
close. But apparently it's up till November the 6th. There's still
Okay.
special votes coming in. There's about 300,000 special votes, which is like overseas voters and people in quarantine facilities and things like that. So
I think at least
quietly,
53% of Americans voted for Hillary in the last election, and that wasn't quite enough to swing it. Now I'm just bringing up bullshit. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that claim.
I'm quietly
53%
optimistic though.
voted for Hillary.
Yeah, yeah.
Near asks, any thoughts on hypnotherapy, Eric?
Yeah, my thoughts on therapy take a while. I think I might have told you a little bit about how I have these this view called the contextual model of what makes psychotherapy work. That doesn't really limit psychotherapy to anything. Oh, am I in your camera here or over there?
Oh, if you sit down there, that's the best.
Okay, I have to go back over here. Yeah, my views about therapeutic interventions have shifted a lot, given that I think the best evidence indicates that there are a number of different kinds of change rituals which can be effective, but that the change rituals have to have certain ingredients, but it's sort of loosened my limitations on what those ingredients would be. Those arguments come from Bruce Wampold and his evidence of where he examines the effectiveness of different types of psychotherapy in the book called The Great Psychotherapy Debate. So I can talk about that at length, but that is a very boring topic to everyone but me. Is all the audio from the Discord coming through this speaker right now, Reed?
Yes.
Yes. People in Discord pretty much aren't speaking up except you and I. Just the pretty much Dadas is occasionally popping up. We did hear briefly from New Zealand from Bigby.
Well, not a lot of people are here on Discord today, really.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Still prefer text than live. Yes, that's fine. Text is way, way open here.
I don't know if Eric understood, but the question was about hypnotherapy in particular. That was
Yes.
Near asked about your opinion on hypnotherapy. Therapy.
Yep. Hypnotherapy or hypnotherapy.
Yeah. Hypnotherapy.
Yeah. I think I heard him say that he has widened his view of what rituals in hypnotherapy can be effective. That earlier on he had a narrower view and now he has a wider view. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you were describing it pretty correctly, Dolly. It's generally that, yeah, I think the ingredients that need to be there for a change ritual to be effective are that the client accepts the rationale for the change ritual. The change ritual is something that the client can invest effort in. And wow, now I'm forgetting some of them. But yeah, they're generally like the client has to believe, oh, there's some adaptive explanation for what I'm experiencing. This ritual will have a way of alleviating some of the distress I'm experiencing, and then I can put effort into this ritual and start achieving some of that change. Yeah.
Cool.
But is there any scientific basis about the actual well, that hypnosis is actually doing anything?
Yeah, I think that's really asking the question of, I mean, we're asking, is it doing anything? We're asking, does it outperform the placebo effect? But really what I think we're trying to do in psychotherapy is trying to encourage that internal process of healing and change that we refer to as the placebo effect. So it's not that like the placebo effect is not real and not really achieving anything. People experience real changes as a result of the placebo effect, but we engage in these change rituals in order to encourage that sort of internal process of healing and change that in other realms of medicine we would refer to as the placebo and think of as not real, even though people have measurable benefits as a result of placebos. So it's a difficult question to answer because the question is asked within a medical paradigm in which the placebo is seen as not real. And much of psychology doesn't fit into that narrow medical paradigm as we're trying to encourage these internal processes that are maybe better described by psychology than medicine.
Yeah. I was wondering because, I so a pretty long time ago, I've been around there. I mean, I wasn't an actual psychotherapist and not that, not officially, but there was something like something called rebirthing once in the United States. It was pretty popular. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of rebirthing because a kid was killed that way when someone sat on them while they were under a blanket while rebirthing.
Ooh.
Oh shit! I never sat on anybody.
That's good, but they said this kid really had to fight for his rebirthing. So someone went and sat on him when he was under this blanket and told him to get out from under them. And a child suffocated to death during rebirthing therapy.
Yeah. I see what they were trying to do. No, we didn't do such shit.
Yeah.
you just it was a very easy rebirth, very untraumatic rebirth. You're very happy to be there again. I'm born again. So you're born again, is that right?
No, it's not like that. Not like that. I mean, the at least the official idea of rebirthing was that through specific breathing techniques and other exercises, one would re-experience memories of their birth. And
okay, I don't really know much about that.
Yeah, and in that sense, they would learn about let's say most important traumas that are kind of working in somebody's life. That was the idea.
Yeah. Well, Reed, do you think you're going to get someone soon? Do you want me to just sit down so we can chat about something else?
We could, or Dolly and I could switch. Yeah, have Dolly talk about the prediction claim.
The prediction of what?
That feels like a complicated one to talk about epistemology within the framework of street epistemology. I don't know.
I love challenges. I'm gonna get off of this. Okay.
What am I supposed to be doing? You went to grab wife. That would work.
Oh, wow. Can you hear me on Discord? Where can I see on Discord? Here? Okay. Good.
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear.
Ooh, and I can change things here. Oh, something's happening. What? Oh no, sweet. So now how do I hear this? Oh, I have to like how do I switch?
Turn on.
Okay, now I can hear the
water.
Here you go. I got you guys.
Good.
now I can hear Twitch.
Okay, then
How do I that's good? Is this good?
So, good. All right.
Yes, I think this is good.
like
so
a
I
short
can commentate,
hair.
I can listen and commentate.
I think she's a mix with like a
There
boxer
we go.
or
Dolly
something.
is doing a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. They're friendly.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm Dolly,
I'm
D-A-L-I.
Christy.
Hello, Christy.
How are you?
We just wiped those.
Oh, perfect.
They should be clean-ish.
Do I do that on this phone or with a
And now you
phone?
can hear yourself really well, I bet.
Hello. Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So, in this street epistemology, we ask you to tell us something that you think is true about the world.
Okay.
And hopefully
Okay, I
it's
gotcha.
something that affects choices.
Okay.
And then we'll ask you your reasons,
Mhm.
getting all the way down to like what authorities do you choose, and I'll try very hard not to push back from another position.
Okay.
So please tell me something that you think is true about the world.
Can you do the claims and stuff?
Beauty. Only beauty.
Beauty is
Yes.
true.
Yeah, that's the only truth to me.
Okay, beauty is truth. Is 2 + 2 = 4 beautiful?
Yeah, math's beautiful.
Okay, math is beautiful. So the truth in math is beautiful.
Mhm.
All right. What would be the ugliest truth that you think is true? I'm assuming ugly is on the opposite side of beautiful.
No.
No. What would be the opposite of beautiful? What maybe the better
that-
question is
or I
what
have
is
to-
the
I have to, like,
least
check this,
beautiful
right?
thing that you think is true?
Did I do that right? That's a claim, and then I check that. Oh, it did. It worked.
Oh my, that's
Okay. Great.
What was your name?
I don't remember. Do you know what name?
That we're never gonna get it in this material plane, if that makes sense.
So the fact that we're not going to get something in the material plane is a thing that is true, that is least beautiful or in the list.
When
Yeah,
it's in
and
over
not
there next
getting
to the
something
speaker,
as in a thing, but
Yeah, you can do
it,
that.
like,
Understanding. You're talking
Yes.
about a grokking. You're talking about conceptual receiving
Yes.
as opposed to acquiring a thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I have a box of candies here. Would you agree that there is either an even or an odd number of candies in the box?
I do.
You do? Okay. If Eric were to say it's even and I were to say it's odd, are one of us wrong?
No, because I don't know.
Oh, okay. So if he said, did you say even or odd?
Even.
Even. Okay. And I say it's odd. So we take these, we pour them out on the table, and we all three count of them, and we all come up with the same number, 37. Was he wrong? And I was right?
No, in that moment, not.
In that moment, not.
No,
No.
not to me.
Okay. Is it ever okay to say to somebody that they're wrong about a thing?
Good question.
I do it a lot, but it's not.
Okay, so
test,
it's
test,
not
test,
okay to
test.
say to people that they're incorrect,
Little
but sometimes
louder.
you find yourself making that error. Okay. Okay.
Cool, good.
What's the harm in telling somebody that they are incorrect? Oh, or maybe wrong and incorrect are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking.
From my personal experience is that when you tell someone they're wrong, they'll either start believing in that more.
Ah, backfire effect. Yeah. You tell somebody that they're incorrect and they
Yeah.
will double down on that they're
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And growing up, I really come to find that it is really not my place to tell someone
I switched
that
it.
they're wrong, even though I do it because I'm human.
Okay.
But they gotta find out for themselves. Sometimes people will change their mind, and one good example.
Okay.
So I'm from Holland,
Uh-huh.
right? And we have this festival. It's called Sinterklaas. It's
Uh-huh.
like Santa, and he has helpers, but they're
Yeah.
white people in blackface,
Oh, okay.
and they're like
I've seen
Have you
seen
seen
this
it?
I've seen this thing, and it does seem a little
It's odd.
odd.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether I should be annoyed about it or not. This
It's
is
annoying
confusing.
because they are they act all like doom doom, kind of like stupid, you know.
Ah.
And then kids around December 5th, kids will be like, "Hey, where's the little black Pete going?" And you're just like,
Uh-huh.
and I'd argue with people like, "Oh my God, it's such an annoying practice and this and
Uh-huh.
that," and then I get in so many fights. Now we're 15 years later,
Okay.
and it's changed, and people that I used to fight with are super anti now.
Ah. Okay, so you were a bit ahead of the curve, and they've come around to your position
Yeah,
because society in general seems to be coming around more to that position.
exactly.
Okay.
And so for me, that's been most of my life, and I feel like looking back, arguing about it really just made them puff up
Yeah.
and say things to me like, "Go back to your own country then if you don't like it." And they were friends of mine.
Oh
So
my. But you're from Holland.
yeah,
That
well,
is your
I was
country.
born here, but then I grew up
Oh, okay.
there. But they'd be like, "Go to your own country." So
Oof.
that's an example of sometimes people catch up,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why I'm always well, I gotta stop telling people they're wrong because either they'll catch up or not. You know,
I see.
It's not my position.
All right. This really rings true for me. Within street epistemology, one of our big things is not to push back, not to try to argue somebody else into a different position.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like we want them to bring out their own reasons, lay them out, and then evaluate them based on their own epistemology, their own
Yeah.
reasons for coming to believe
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where did you first learn about beauty as beauty equals truth?
I always knew it. I just always knew
Okay.
it. And then studying, getting deep into literature but even deeper and deeper and deeper, getting more deep into my faith and deeper in that, everything that I thought or felt is true because it's written. I feel it. I feel it resonate back to me from scripture, from just being in this park.
Yeah.
You know, I feel it.
Okay. Is that a reliable way to come to know true things?
No,
No.
it's not.
What's a more reliable way?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
honestly, and especially in like this time.
In
There's-
2020
in
with
2020
pandemics and
with
craziness,
all the
yes.
like, you know, people's positions. I usually know when people are wrong.
Oh,
I know, and then years later they'll have changed
okay.
their position on things, because I feel like a lot of people are so like the monkey brain, you know, in their head, like this and that, and, and then they don't notice.
My friend Ree's wearing a monkey brain t-shirt.
Oh, whoa, that's so they don't notice
Yes.
beauty and truth
Ah.
because they're, you know, I was at the stoplight today for 20 minutes. Can you believe it? And I'll be like, when did that happen? This morning. It's like,
Okay.
okay.
Is that impossible?
Sorry?
Is that impossible that they could have been in a stoplight for 20 minutes?
No, that's not impossible, but I feel like that is the monkey brain missing out on beauty.
Was this person, is the issue that they were overestimating the time of one event?
No, the issues is they just huff and puff and F and Jeff about these mundane
Okay.
things.
Oh, I see.
And
I
then-
see. Distracted by irrelevancy.
And
is the
yeah,
issue.
and then
I see.
complain that there's no beauty, or that there's beauty. To me is just enjoying. Can be, doesn't have to be an object.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Okay.
So if I were to take several people and ask them to rank beautiful things,
Yeah.
would they come up with similar ranks?
No, it'll be
Okay.
like,
If I were then to take a same group of people and ask them to rank true things in order of like confidence about how confident are we that this is true? Would they come up with similar lists, similar ordered lists?
perhaps. Perhaps.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I'm getting what you're saying.
I'm starting with beauty is the definition of truth.
Yeah.
And it seems to me very subjective. It seems to me very different from person to person.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to understand if there's an objectiveness to this version of truth, or if this is a subjective. People would put them in different
Yes.
different sorts.
Yeah, it's all subjective.
Putting the burden of understanding. on
Yeah.
them. That's good.
There's not a lot of objectivity. Could be LA, could be America,
Uh huh.
or just the world, like the global consciousness, or at least in the Western world.
Okay.
It's all the same, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is truth for you is a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
per
it
person.
is.
Okay.
It's per person, and I think for me it has to do with a layer of like. See, I grew up with people that are mentally ill,
Uh huh.
so I have a different experience in life in general, having parents that are not
Yeah.
living in reality.
Oh. Okay. So kind of a
So-
delusion, or
yeah.
yeah. All right.
So that gives me maybe a different view on the world. I pick up things quick, you know.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain. So that could be, it's different because I've lived with people that it's not true what they're saying. They're
Right.
delusional.
Yeah.
But somehow they're so convinced.
Yeah.
So I can sense when people are on that
Ah.
in the world. So
Okay.
like
Oh, when you say on that.
delusional or on.
Okay, so if they're coming from a place of delusion,
Yeah.
you have a strong sense of knowing that they are coming from a place of
Yes.
delusion.
Yeah.
So you meet somebody new,
Yeah.
and they start talking, and then I'm just pretending that you come to the conclusion, yeah, I think this person's a little delusional. What's the first kind of thing that they said that told you that?
In these last 4 years, it's the Trump rage.
Uh-huh, okay.
I don't like him,
Okay.
but I know many people like him. I've met many people like him, and the people that hate him are like him.
The
From my
people that dislike
experience.
Trump
Yes.
are like Trump.
Yes.
And the people that like Trump, are they similar to Trump?
I don't believe that per se.
Okay.
That they are, because that's like the general consensus. Is
Oh,
that,
the general consensus is to like Trump.
is that everyone that votes for him or like
Okay.
capes for him.
Just down here. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Or like, for example, what I think is a delusion now with people is that every Republican is a racist, is a sexist,
Uh-huh.
is a this, is a that, is a Jesus-loving Christian
Uh-huh.
crazy person.
Oh, I definitely have.
That's a
I
delusion
definitely
to
have a
me.
counterexample on that one.
Okay, yeah.
I have a friend that's a neighbor of mine who is very pro-Trump, and he's Jewish. He's not a fan of Jesus. He's a fan of the Talmud. He's a fan of
Yeah,
the Old
yeah, yeah.
Testament.
Yeah, so for me, most people that I know
Yes.
that are liberal or whatever, I don't even know what all this means because I'm used to different politics, so
Yes.
I'm catching up to like
Okay.
I got really into it. That's a delusion when someone that's when they think we're on the right side, that's
Okay.
already a delusion. A right and a wrong side.
Yeah, yeah. In this
Right
case,
now.
correct as opposed to right left.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on the correct side.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And then I noticed people say, my whole life, I've heard people say exactly the same things, either side of the political spectrum, as he does. And I sometimes feel like people recognize themselves in him and they get upset.
So they
They blo-
relate to him and say, because I recognize this thing that I'm relating to in Trump, then I might give him more credibility because I'll give him the benefit of the doubt or something like that.
No, it's the
No.
people that really hate him.
Oh, the people.
No, the people that really hate him.
Oh,
I'm talking, no, I'm
my
not
bad.
talking, no,
I
that's
was
fine.
so backwards.
No, that's sorry, because I am confusing because of the language.
Yes. By the way, I'm trying to be very neutral here.
Yeah.
So I haven't told you my position on Trump at
Oh,
all.
that doesn't
You can ask me
matter.
that question after, and that's fine.
Oh, I don't,
Go ahead.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I don't care what, in that case, the most delusional thing I think now is
Okay.
that huge divide because of politics.
Yeah,
I think
polarization.
Yes.
Yes.
That is delusion.
So it's delusion to say, you, Eric, are just so.
Yes.
And I can't listen to you. I can't take you seriously because
Yes.
this by association or
Yes.
that thing you said.
Yes.
Okay, that's delusion.
Yes.
Okay.
To me, it is.
All right.
That's a huge delusion. That's missing out on so much.
Yeah.
That's missing out on yourself.
Yes.
That's missing out on reaching the next level in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrong. That's wrong.
Yep. Yep.
But that is something that is wrong to
Yes.
me, and that's the truth. Because the result of that is mess.
So polarization results in mess, catastrophe, chaos.
Yeah.
And as a result, that's sort of a social level delusion. But
Yes.
it's a believing the wrong thing.
Yes.
And it leads us to a mess.
Yes.
Okay.
Believing people are bad that don't have the same views or values
Uh-huh.
is wrong to me. And it creates a mess. You're
Believing-
bad.
believing that people don't have the same views or values. I think I must have understood that.
Oh no,
If-
believing that people,
Yes.
like my household, like the hatred towards Republicans is so strong
Uh-huh.
that it's just like everyone's just the same. You're a bad person because you're
Right.
even a person that like stuff like, oh, I am, what is it with the abortion? Saying that someone that believes in pro-life is bad.
Okay.
That's wrong to me.
Okay.
Because you don't know that person. That's delusion.
So if somebody says that person over there wants to support abortion, they're bad, and that's a delusion to say that they're bad. What about this other person who thinks terminating a pregnancy is like murder? I'm just going to say, you know, and
Yeah,
are they
yeah.
also in wrong?
No.
No. Okay.
They're not wrong.
So is one side wrong or the other? Maybe I'm hearing it wrong.
No, I think you're hearing it wrong. I'm
I'm hearing
saying
it
this side of, it's just the polarization and like I know a time where
Yes.
you could disagree
Yeah.
on whatever like ethical concepts or
Mhm.
whatever, and it was okay. You could still
Ah. So there
be-
was a time in the past where people were more gracious, generous with each other, less polarized.
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's this country because I haven't been here long enough. I've only been here 7 years, so I don't know. But yeah,
So I have a question from the
Yeah.
audience.
yeah.
Would it follow that the only people who aren't deluded are those who aren't polarized or partisan? That those that are polarized, are they deluded, the ones on either end that won't listen to the other side?
Yes.
But the ones in the middle who are willing to listen to the other side, they are avoiding being deluded. Is that the definition?
That's like that's flat. That's,
Okay.
yeah, but you could say yeah, kind of.
If it's close and doesn't
Believe-
quite fit,
yeah,
that's so fine.
okay.
Totally tell me how it's different.
Yeah, I do think not wanting to listen to each other or not wanting to accept
Okay.
someone else's stance on anything,
Yeah.
to me, is delusional.
Ah, okay.
You don't know what they've been through. You don't know.
What
You-
does it mean to accept a stance?
Well, I go into the extreme
Okay. I like extremes, especially in
because
examples.
I've lived neo-Nazis.
Oh.
Always been around. When I went to high school, I'm 40 years old.
Uh-huh.
I've been on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
I went to high school in 95. There were neo-Nazis in the small town I lived with.
Oh,
My
wow.
best friend's brother was a Nazi.
Wow.
But we'd kick a ball around.
Okay.
We'd hang out. He was always so super nice. It was, and I have experienced that with so many different people
Mm-hmm.
that are still, that are viewed as evil people. And of course, the ideology is not good, but I understand why every group has their. It's like cops and robbers. What else are you gonna do with your life? You know, people are like attached to. This is this thing. I just had my friend just complain, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, you're so attached to like this body, this like, you are not, you know? So a lot of people are so attached to, this is my group.
Yeah.
And then when you meet people one-on-one, we're still people. And that's a delusion to me that people don't want to see each other on either side as
Okay.
people. And plus, we're not the most important system here. There's like in the Western society or what we're doing around here,
Okay.
there's other societies that are, there's different ways to live.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like, ugh, I'm
Oh,
almost
that's
all over the
okay.
place. So yeah, the Brody, please.
Yes, dogs. Somebody says dogs see a squirrel, but actually dogs see another dog.
Yeah.
And oh, Oh, there's so much to say.
I
And that
know.
dog's like, nope, nope, I'm
No,
above it.
nope.
I'm just, nope, mm-mm.
Yeah, that's exactly. They're both like me. You have like the very focused, like
Yeah.
not effective one, and then you have this like, but can't you people see that?
Can't you
Blah, blah,
people
blah,
see?"
blah, blah, blah. That's my line. Can't you people see? So
Go ahead.
I don't know. So yeah, not seeing each other as whole people with histories is
Uh-huh.
like an illusion to me.
Okay.
You rednecks, are you? It's like.
So anytime we hit somebody with guilt by association or ignore somebody because they said something in the past, where does the Me Too come in on this? It's like, are there people that have done things bad enough in the public that we should no longer pay attention to them? Is that okay?
It's not, unless they still exhibit the behavior.
Ah.
I don't care about
So
your
if you apologize, you
past.
can get it. But if
No.
if you're unrepentant, it's like no.
I don't care about your past. But
Okay.
I do care about your pattern.
Okay.
But also, people like to pick and choose who they cancel in this world.
If I
Obviously.
go here, you can hear
Mhm.
me. If I go here,
Oh, money? It's about
Yes,
money?
It's
Okay.
about money. It's about your position. It's about not wanting to lose your position. Because
Okay,
I
you
know
can hear
a
me
lot
here,
of
and
people
you
in
can hear-
showbiz that complain
Yep,
all day
that's happening.
about the
Rick,
abusive bosses, about
that
this, about
mic's
this,
name
about
is
that,
Do you
but
want me
still
to
do
help you set the
go and
level?
do their job.
fine.
Because they want to
If you wanna
get,
say something,
they don't
I'll
want to work
put
at
up the level.
Target, so they just go like this.
Yeah.
And that's the good side. Weinstein, talking about a Me Too, had been
Yeah.
caught in the 90s.
Talking about Harvey Weinstein just recently got convicted and is serving
Yeah.
jail time? Yeah, that's the one.
That's
Mhm.
the one who got to do. Is it wrong? Yeah, it's very wrong. It's manipulative. It's not good. But, and I went and like really like got into this. You know?
Yeah.
He was already caught in the 90s. His
Oh.
assistant, she got money. She recently, her NDA ended, so she's giving interviews.
Oh, okay. So he got caught and bought his way out of it with
Yeah.
NDAs and kept himself from paying the price back then.
Yes. And
And
meanwhile, Disney
It
and
it
whoever's
compiled up
involved.
until he couldn't pay his way out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's to me, it compiled to the point where he had to just go down. But
Yeah.
But meanwhile, people are still working. People are making movies. People knew. I have a friend that's old.
Yeah.
She knew. Her
Yeah.
husband's a producer. It's like, oh, that's just Harry. He's just,
Uh-huh.
So. It's, to me, the whole like public shaming, canceling is like peasants, like when they used to put someone on the throw stones, or you can't really do that anymore, like with physically put someone like on a, what did they do in the Middle Ages? Like they put
Oh, they
someone-
were cruel, a whole bunch of things. They put people in stocks and
yeah,
things like that.
exactly. So to me, this whole thing is just like, because we can't go around murdering and torturing
Right,
people
right.
anymore. It's still in our
I'm-
nature.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how they go on Twitter and like.
Yeah.
We owe a lot of our culture to people that were not kosher, but we're people.
Yeah.
We're extremely flawed.
Yeah.
We like to gratify our senses.
Yep.
When we get into trauma, some people do horrible things.
I've seen that.
So to me, the issue is more going to the source of changing that.
Tell me about that place. How do we change this?
By, again, for me, what I see a lot is I see a lot of people not speaking up about behavior because they don't want to lose their position.
Okay. So people are afraid to speak out.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I've noticed.
If we were less afraid to speak out, would we become more or less polarized? And maybe that's an unfair question.
Eventually, well, they killed Jesus for speaking up. So no. And I'm not like, oh, they killed, but there's more people that they.
So they killed Jesus for speaking up. So no, we would not be more polarized, or no, we would.
No,
be
I
more-
think that when people speak up in the beginning, it just
Yeah.
takes a long time
Okay.
for the culture to catch up.
There has to be a lot of speaking up going
There
on.
has to be so much, and at this point, there's just a couple people. It's like there's this study that they did about the silent majority. I can't remember the name. It's like German or Danish. It's really interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, we gotta speak up. But also, greed makes people not speak up. Finding value in a position or makes people not speak up. Or just simply not understanding.
Finding value in a position makes people not speak up.
Yeah, if you have a certain position
Oh, you mean like if I have a job?
in a job.
So this isn't a position on a topic.
No.
It's
Yeah. So,
I have
yeah,
a job
yes.
and I'm a representative of a thing, and I better
I work
not
for this
not
brand,
be the wrong kind of
and this is
controversial.
the cool brand.
Yeah.
My boss does this, but I'm just gonna go like that because I
Yeah.
still wanna. I think that is ultimately what's people being able to find value in who they are,
Yes.
and we're not there yet as people here.
Okay.
'Cause there's other cultures and that have harmony, more harmony. But yeah, I think speaking up.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking up is a way to reduce the delusion. It's
Yeah,
a way to reduce
yeah.
the polarization. So we should be more vocal,
I think so.
less afraid to
I think so. And
tell somebody that they are wrong. Uh-oh. Oh, crap.
What?
When I speak up, I'm telling somebody that
Oh
they're wrong.
yeah, I know.
So now we just went full circle, and now I'm doing the thing that you say is no, don't do it.
Yeah. But speaking up against an action
Okay.
and speaking up against someone's opinion,
Okay.
is that different? That has to be different.
Is it different to speak up against an action or an opinion? I think a lot of opinions are about what action we should take. So I think one's a hypothetical and one's a historical.
Well-
I see a big overlap.
Yeah. Well, at my old job, I spoke up. I have a big mouth. I'm always saying, this is wrong, this is wrong. My grandma was part of the union.
Okay.
So I grew up in that, like, farmers' wives, da 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 da.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a worker.
Uh-huh.
So I went and spoke up for all my other workers at the place because they're not from here. They don't really speak the language that well, and they're intimidated. I got fired
Okay.
over it.
For speaking up.
Yeah,
Okay.
for just saying to my manager boss,
Uh-huh.
this is wrong.
Uh-huh.
Rule, I was like, it's wrong to take advantage of people.
Okay.
And that was kind of like, not like a whistleblower, but what they. Now I'm confused. That's good.
So that's actually really good. We appreciate that, and the honesty about being confused is
Yeah.
hugely important.
Yeah.
Question from the audience, and I'm almost done.
Okay, for sure.
Is there hypothetically a situation where we should speak up and tell someone that they are wrong? I think we're almost repeating from an earlier question.
Yeah. I guess you have to.
I guess we have to.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed this
Yeah, me
conversation.
too.
Um,
I'm sorry it was confusing because I just
I-
have all these
I was not
languages in
confused.
my head.
I was not confused.
Okay.
You have solved my confusion. And I think I understand you clearly. I really appreciate the conversation. We'd
Me
like to give you
too.
one of these squeezy colors. You can pick one color.
Okay.
This is one of those obvious bribes for you to come back for the other two and have more conversations.
Oh.
So grab yourself a squeezy puzzle toy.
Well, I need the whole thing because Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue? I've been obsessed with that Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue painting.
Oh.
Like obsessed since
don't
the
know about
last
this.
week.
Okay.
So I want them all.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Great.
Thank you guys.
We'll be here for at least another 2 hours today.
Okay.
And we'll probably, I'm not sure about this location. This was an ad hoc second option because we got chucked out of Runyon Park by the people with the badges and the ranger things because they apparently think we need a filming permit to have conversations with people on Discord with cameras and tablets.
Yeah. Yeah. It was wrong what you were doing.
It may be. It's hard to say.
Thank
you
you
very
guys.
much.
And what is I was gonna look up. Oh, I'm still.
Yeah, you're hooked in. We have you tethered to the table.
I'm gonna.
And this is his channel. That's Reed.
Oh, hi, Reed.
And
Thank you.
my channel, I don't have the cards yet. My channel is Juggling Lessons. His channel is Cordial Curiosity. And you can contact any of us, and we're all connected together if you want further communications.
Let me write down yours.
Here, I got it for you.
Oh yes, perfect. Excellent. This is so fun. People don't talk to in this place.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
I did not know Chihuahuas came in brindle.
Right? She's like I think she's mixed with like a pit bull or a boxer or
It's a
something.
beautiful dog.
Okay, you're beautiful too.
Yeah,
You
both
just-
of you.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
This is all one word. Juggling Lessons. It's all one word. And if you want me on Gmail, just add @gmail.com. If you want me on YouTube, put youtube.com/ in front of that.
Okay.
And you'll have my channel.
Do you know that you have to juggle in like olden days, like the jester fool, a fool?
I used to teach at Renaissance Fair dressing like olden days while I taught juggling.
I didn't know that about you.
That's where the name came from. Yeah, I used to teach juggling at Renaissance Fair.
Oh my god, I've been dying to go.
It's so different now than it used to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so fun. I'm so like, well, I'm from Europe, so it's castles and
Uh-huh.
that and the thing. It's just the whole, I love it.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to meet you. Do they drink a lot of mead at Renaissance fairs? Or no?
Yes.
Oh, do you go too?
I've gone with him, and I'm usually bringing young kids, but yes, they drink a lot of mead at Renaissance.
They drink a lot of anything with alcohol in it, but mead and beer and wine are the most popular.
Yeah.
And then somebody will walk in a little tequila in a something.
Me and my fiance have been making mead.
Oh, nice.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, I got feedback from the people that were wandering around and I completely agreed. And I was so appreciative that she came back to a focus point at the end that we
Oh.
could end on. There were about 2 or 3 times when I thought I was going to bail out because this was the high spot,
Uh-huh.
and then I didn't want to cut her off.
Yeah.
So that felt really good right there at the end. Yep. You're confused, so that's good. Yes, we win. You thought about it. I never even got to, and you can ask me questions. It just didn't come up.
Well, she had already said it didn't matter. She
Right.
didn't care.
Yep.
Did you get her permission to record her? Because we didn't get a name.
We didn't get a name.
Nope, we couldn't type it in. Nobody knew what her name was.
Oh, I heard it. I didn't type it.
Oh, okay.
I did hear it.
So it's somewhere in the video.
We'll catch it in the video. And I did tell her that we were live streaming and on camera, so hopefully that counts enough for the consent. If not, whoops, my bad.
We keep these off between.
Right.
You knew that was going to happen, Jensen. I don't want to hear it.
All right. That was something.
Hello. That was
Okay.
So I'm
let's go to
assuming that
Discord
Discord
for
was able to
feedback.
hear it just fine.
It's much easier to hear right there. Because you can hear in real time and it's not a 6-second delay and it's like not through Discord compression. Yeah. We might have to do something where
You can probably even hear me if I'm over here.
no,
Well, the mic's not picking me up.
no.
I can hear myself a little bit in the speaker.
Yeah.
The mic's just pointed right at me. So.
Yeah, I've got him being picked up at about 20 decibels below normal.
Yeah, I've got it being picked up at about 20 decibels below normal.
Okay. Let's go to the Twitch chat, see if anybody was there. Nope.
Okay, I have a thermometer link about Ninja. Would you like me to switch to a Ninja
If
feed?
you're planning on coming back here, I think you need more signs like facing down the trail and up the trail and maybe even over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seem-
Because like it sounds like you get reception, you got shade from the trees, so you got a lot going for it, but
Yeah.
the signage and letting people know what it is and getting them to stop.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No problem with the thermometer. If you'd like
Then
me to
again,
do
I have no
something,
idea
just
what you're
tag
doing,
me and I
it's
will
like-
comply.
I just see your YouTube channel where it's person after person.
Yeah. At Runyon, it's up to 30 to 40 minutes, but that's like tops. On average, 15 to 20 minutes
To wait for someone?
to wait for someone.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
Runyon
an hour,
sometimes.
but yeah,
I do not.
this is how the sausage is made.
Okay,
it's a lot of
switching
waiting,
to Discord
actually.
mode. So I've turned off the Twitch player, just working in Discord, which I think means that now Reed and Eric have to push to talk in order to be heard. Okay, so I think they're expecting to be heard, so I'm gonna turn the Twitch back
Just a
on.
generic street epistemology sign.
It's not very, like, I didn't even read what it says until you pointed out to me that I ought to read what it says just now.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't look at that and immediately read. I see the logo, which is very visible, but the text above and below, I actually...
So Eric is saying that
read
the sign
Yeah.
that you're seeing, he didn't really even read it. He just saw the logo with the text above, and that was all he perceived, and it was enough.
You really just gotta
But he's familiar with it.
invite people as they walk by.
Yep.
You gotta be like a cult, a bunch of people in outfits. 5-minute interview. Would you like to sit down? Hey, we're doing interviews today. Would you like to? Oh, gonna read my beaten levels, huh?
Yeah, some people have I was up there a few years ago and someone sat down and just did like this to me and then left, and I assumed they thought I was Scientology because people have done that before.
Oh man.
How much more
Which
time
is
do we have
not good.
left on the park?
I've never seen a Scientologist do this.
I think our maximum time here
They like to keep it
would be until 6
Yeah.
p.m. local, which is in an hour and 26 minutes.
And I think they want lots of
Oh,
support
left
from
in
other
parking?
Scientologists.
Well, parking is it says no parking after sunset. So it says no parking after sunset. So I'm now hearing a reflection through the Twitch, so I'm going to turn off the Twitch for the moment. Yep, I have muted the Twitch. Yeah, so the question is how long on the parking? And my understanding is parking becomes restricted at sunset. So we should probably strike 20 minutes before sunset just to make sure we're in motion and don't get a parking ticket. Those are so easy to get in Los Angeles. They just really love to smack. Okay. Desired. I don't understand if we should accept harmful beliefs as equally valid to good ones. Yeah, I think she was defining a whole bunch of harmful beliefs. Her version of the term delusional doesn't fit my understanding of the term. I think she was using delusional to mean simply like stubbornly incorrect or holding onto a position that's obviously malformed or obviously going to have bad results, something of that order. It was kind of interesting because every important word in her initial claim got redefined into something different than what I would have thought. So if I had responded to what I understood of her claim initially, I would have gone completely down the wrong path. Yeah, lots of equivocating. Oh, yeah, very different language. I also noticed that her definition of truth was doesn't overlap with mine. If evil exists in the shared realities of two beings, it's able to move into the reality of the individual's experience. If would say that if evil exists in the shared realities of two beings, it is able to move into the reality of the individual's experience. Okay. To stop the evil from entering your reality, you have to stop it in the shared reality. So you ought to stop them. Stop them doing what? Stop them perceiving the evil? Stop them acting the evil out? What is the stop? From doing what is considered evil. Okay. From acting the evil out. All right. Okay, yes. So feedback. For purposes of educating viewers, I understand explaining SE jargon, but I don't think the IL would understand. Yes, so during that, I was not paying close attention to myself in this regard. Did I use SE jargon with our latest interlocutor, whose name I don't remember? I will find it in the video. I heard it. We said hello. I said my name. She said hers. Yes, if I'm doing any if I'm doing any use of SE jargon directly in the Elenchus, I probably want to step on that. I probably want to avoid uh, defining or describing uh, SE jargon much. Oh, backfire effect. Yes, I called it. I see. Yes. Um. Yeah, that might be jargon. I mean, it's not SE specific jargon, but that might be jargon. Yeah. Yeah, so desired. I'm interested in this. Anything that would force evil into my reality, if not impacting my reality, I need not act. Um, if in our reality I were being very mean to my pet, because is that the kind of evil that affects your reality? Is that something you should stop me from doing, being evil to my pet? Then it exists in the shared reality and therefore in reality. Okay, so um, if I were to leave you and go to a deserted island and torture a dog, I obviously not. I have no desire to do any of that. But if I were to get it far enough away from your reality, would it be something that you would then just have um, no compulsion to act on, no compulsion to, if you don't know or you can't act, you're not responsible. You would desire to act if you knew about it? Okay. We might have an interlocutor. Okay, not this time. Okay, good. You help him write a letter. If it weren't a language I understood, I'd be happy to help proofread. Otherwise, you're on your own. Yeah, I think the foot traffic here is between 10 and 20% over Runyon Canyon. I think I'm going to use Runyon Canyon as the unit of foot traffic. Oh, it's a PhD application. Oh, wow. In English. Excellent. Yeah, Quinn is so good at hawking people down. It's good stuff. I need to learn. I need to learn to be forward like him.
We could go to the peak of Runyon Canyon where that, cliff edge was to get that really nice view.
Uh-huh. In Runyon, you say?
Yeah, I doubt there's going to be anybody with badges or a car there.
Ah. Yes, Quinn, we're calling you on the spot, but it's for good things. It's for things we like.
We can also try Echo Park.
Yeah. I would like to try Echo Park. For selfish reasons, it's actually very close to our land home, so that makes my job slightly easier. But it's only a small thing.
Are the swan boats open?
Yes. Yep, the swan boats are open and ruining people's knees. Those swan boats are paddle type pedal type boats, and the length between the seat and the pedals are set for the shortest people. And so the average people get their knees up in their nostrils, and and it's just really hard on the knee joints to be pedaling like with your bicycle seat far too low. So for that reason, I'm not a big fan of those boats. I almost need to. I can't adjust the seat. I can't get far enough away to actually get a good pedal stroke going, and it's tough on the knees. Essie in a swan boat, yes, it'd be nuts. The thing is, you got somebody really constrained. You got them on a boat that if you get into a fight, you're way easy in range to like, punch on each other or something. Oh yes, there's a swan boat. Now that is unlike the swan boats that we have in Echo Park. The ones in Echo Park have a roof. I have no reason to think that that's Eric. Could be.
Foot traffic seems to be picking up a bit at sunset.
You say the traffic is getting heavier around sunset? Yeah, I do see more walking traffic. Yeah, that second one is a lot closer to the ones they have in Echo Park. It's not precise, but it's close. There you go. Those are the Echo Park swans. Good find there, Kimberly. Now, if we could SE the squirrels, we'd have a constant series of interlocutors. I unfortunately all the nuts that I brought are salted. I think that might be unkind to the squirrel. Oh, with a boomstick. A boomstick? What is a boomstick? There's nobody anywhere near me. I'm going to take my mask off a little bit and eat some of my breakfast, which is now my lunch. This is, oh, I gotcha. A boom mic. Gotcha. Okay. This has 4 ingredients in it. Mushrooms, sausage, eggs, and cheese. Mushrooms, sausage, eggs, and cheese. Yep. Dynamite. Yep. Yep, that's what I thought of when I saw the thought of Boomstick. I also thought of a cartoon with bears in the woods. But I think it's probably not even worth explaining. They were referring to a hunter's firearm as a boomstick. Did you eat breakfast before now? Breakfast. Ah, this was your breakfast. So you spent a bunch of time not able to reach your breakfast. Wile E. Coyote, super genius. I will not put that on YouTube. I will get copyright. Even though I could probably find 500,000 people who could draw you Wile E. Coyote well. Because we've stuck Wile E. Coyotes in everybody's heads. But then told them they can't reproduce it. You can record it, but you can't play it back. But I'll stop whining about copyright. Yep. Full. That's right. Yeah, thanks, Disney. We might have an interlocutor. This guy has recognized street epistemology from our sign and mentioned Anthony. I'm going to turn on the Twitch stream so you can hear it.
I think it was just personal stuff, but yeah. But it's cool that you're familiar with it. We've got a few topics there, or whatever topic you want. You're familiar with it, I'm sure.
I'm interested in the third topic.
The aliens one?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
I've been talking about this a lot this week.
Oh, really? Do you want to practice it, Eric? Yeah, with the aliens thing. This is what I'm here. I'm just here to, help people practice.
He's getting off the bike.
I'd love for you to try it.
Yep, he's getting off the bike. I think we just hit moderately high confidence. We're about to have an interlocutor. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Actually, I recognize Griffith's voice. He said that comment.
Yeah. From Cordial Curiosity.
Yep.
You you mind if I record?
Great. What's your name, by the way?
I'm going to say
Patrick. I'm
host.
Eric. Okay. Let me.
I'm going to put the exclamation mark in
All right. Let's
there
get
so
set
that
up.
I think we sanitize those headphones, so you should be good.
Yeah.
what's the name of the gift?
Okay. You've got all my audio set up, right? Wire on the left. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Hey, Patrick. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can. Okay, but I can't really hear you. It doesn't seem like your mic is turned up right now. So read.
Can I get a little closer?
Try that.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay. Let's say something again, Patrick.
Check. Whoa, there you go.
All right. Yeah. Now you'll come through real quick through the earphones, so hopefully it won't make it too hard to speak. But you got to get used to listening to yourself.
Right. No problem. I'm used to it.
All right. So this is Reed. Do we have the cameras going too? Okay. So tell me your name again,
Patrick?
and tell me what was the claim that you wanted to explore from the board.
I think it was number 3, have aliens visited Earth?
So have aliens visited Earth, and what is your position on this topic?
Well, I have not a firm position, not
Okay.
like I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'd say that I'm 80% sure.
Okay, so you've got that little dial right in front of you, the one on your right. There you go. Yeah, so hold that up to the camera and show where white is absolutely certain that aliens have visited Earth and black is absolutely certain that they have not. Where would you put that dial? So black, you're 80% certain that they have not.
No, that they have.
That they have. Okay.
Oh,
so,
sorry. So this way. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So 80% certain that they have. Aliens have visited Earth. So tell me a little more about that. How did you come to this view?
Well, I think first we should define what alien means, right?
Sure. Yeah,
And-
I'm interested. Tell me about that.
Like for a long time, I used to think it was the idea of maybe an extrasolar or extraplanetary race.
Okay.
And then, through my studies, quote unquote, through sort of just reading more about it, I came to think that maybe they weren't traveling from other star systems, but rather dimensions or time frames or something like that.
Okay.
Or they've been here and we're actually the younger species.
Okay. So you're clarifying some of the claim that aliens, either from another dimension or from somewhere beyond the sun, have traveled to Earth and been here before.
Right, I'm clarifying that what we perceive as visitors from another star system might just be, I guess we could still use the word aliens.
Yeah, yeah. So aliens, and by aliens you're specifically defining that for visitors from another star system, or from, did you want to add another dimension of that, or not really as strongly on that?
I'm not quite sure. It seems to be, people report the behavior of the craft that they travel in to be something that, we assume it comes from the stars because we see them in the sky, but we really don't know because they have the tendency to disappear at will.
Okay.
We don't know where they go. So I'm hesitant to say that they're extraplanetary.
Yeah, yeah. So I see you already referencing some of the evidence you're using to establish this claim. Tell me, what is the evidence that makes you get to that 80%? What's the evidence that you're using?
Gotcha, right. So I think I categorize it as 2 different types, and one is less reliable, and that is people's anecdotal evidence, right?
Okay.
And we all know that people have stories. They're subject to all sorts of perceptual flaws. And then the other category is definite scientific readings of, let's say, radar, ground-to-air radar, sightings from people who are trained, like Navy pilots, or someone who has experience identifying what sorts of behavior are normal for aircraft and what aren't.
Okay.
And based on that, I can't say that jumping from something weird is happening to this is aliens is necessarily like a logical conclusion I can reach.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's that kind of big gap there between something weird is going on, / there are phenomena that happen, and then, this is this thing for sure.
Okay. So you don't need to hold that up the whole time, by the way. You can put it back down. It's got a magnet. But let's see. The pieces of evidence you brought up were, there are some anecdotal reports, people who said they've had these experiences. And there have been radar and sightings where people have made abnormal observations. So let's say you found out that those people who made those claims, they all come out and say, well, I was either making them up or I was confused before, and they changed their mind. Would those anecdotal reports being rescinded change your view on this?
It would have to be, I guess, a lot of them, and of
Okay.
a caliber of person whose opinion I thought would, like, if it's a professional who's trusted in court, then right? Like, if this is a professional in the aviation industry, for instance, then yes, if people who have reported that rescinded that later, and there were a lot of them, I would change my mind. But
Okay.
just one more thing on that.
Sure, sure.
The fact that people go out of their way, people who have professional reputations to uphold, in order to make these claims that are very obviously not supported by a lot of people,
Yeah.
seems to me that I don't understand why they would do that.
Is there
I
someone
guess.
in particular you're thinking of when you describe that?
Well, there's something called the Disclosure Report, which is it's about, I don't know, 100 ex-military and government personnel who have come forward with their different stories, ranging from sightings to contact.
Okay.
And those are people that, in all other cases, would be considered qualified witnesses and
Absolutely.
have high security rankings. So.
Yeah. The other thing you brought up was evidence from radar and sightings. So are you thinking of a particular video you've seen, or these also come back to the claims that people have made? Or tell me more about that.
Sure. So there's been a few governments who have actually released radar and other sorts of imaging that they have been part of FOIA releases where people are looking for actual documentation of what's going on.
Okay.
And those can be radar readings of something that is physical, that travels, that defies physics as we know it, and that has been observed also by people on the ground or people in the air.
Yeah.
Mexico, France, both of their governments have released videos and evidence of that, and to a limited degree the U.S. has, but it
Yeah.
hasn't been as highly publicized.
So let's say then that these governments start realizing, many of these phenomena, it seems they actually have a terrestrial explanation, maybe a natural explanation. Turns out it's all not weather balloons, but these jellyfish that behave like weather balloons. And we're just this is actually a new discovery. We've just discovered this natural phenomena, but it's all terrestrial. Would that change your view?
It would definitely change where I was on the dial,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah, because it's a phenomena. What it is, if it is something else, then that's great. Like,
Yeah. Is there anything? Because I heard you reference something before that I felt like was part of the evidence that you were using that maybe we didn't get to articulating yet. You mentioned something about perhaps aliens having visited Earth in the ancient world and seeing some evidence of that today other places. Is that something that you used to come to your belief on this, or no?
I hadn't mentioned that, although that is a underlying, theme in like ancient astronauts, right? Is that show where they
Okay.
purport to have some sort of evidence of this.
Yeah.
And that could either be, something ranging from like cave art to structures and monoliths that were made that we don't really know how they were constructed.
Okay.
I'm lukewarm on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that one doesn't feel like it's as important a piece of evidence for your belief, but those ancient structures that are difficult to explain are maybe it feels like maybe this is a phenomenon that's best explained by this, but it doesn't really give me much evidence for it right now.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I don't look at that as being evidence for a visitation necessarily.
Okay. What could happen that would make you more certain of this belief? Is there a piece of evidence that you could receive that would make you go, okay, I'm more confident that we have been visited?
Besides a first-hand encounter,
Okay.
which, I know that can't be trusted necessarily either, but that would definitely push me further up on the... I'd be closer to, 95% at that point.
Okay.
I think that having an encounter that was shared with other people and that was measurable in some way, something like that would... See, again, I would be certain that something happened, but I wouldn't... Maybe if I got in the ship, they took me to their... they took me wherever they came from, and I
Sure.
came back, then I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about what would make you much less confident of this belief?
Much less confident.
Yeah, what would make it where you said, I had it at an 80%, and now I'm just much less confident that we have been visited. I learned this, and something changed.
I think it would come back to what you had said about there being a good reason or explanation that explains this set of phenomena that we don't have yet, and it hasn't been provided.
Yeah.
And that certainly would, I'm open to the idea that what we're calling alien and what we're calling UFO sightings is something we don't understand or we're misperceiving.
Yeah. So I want you now to imagine that I'm going to take Reed over here and I'm going to say, Reed, I'm going to have you spend some time with Patrick. He's going to show you the evidence that convinced him. You go and show him the evidence that convinced you. You show him the recordings of these anecdotes. You show him some of the videos that you've seen. You show him the people talking about various abnormal observations, physics defying. You show him the disclosure report. And Reed still says, my confidence on this is still really low. I just don't buy it. What is he missing in that case?
What is he missing in that case?
What is he missing that you saw in that evidence that made your confidence quite high? Is there something where you can imagine that he's just not quite getting it?
I guess it's the sheer number and the sheer sort of like straight edge, type of people that are part of like the disclosure report, for instance. I mean, it's like older, it's people who are maybe 40, they've been in the U.S. military for 40 years or something, and then they're now retired, or they might even still be active. And I guess the sheer number of people who have come forward in something like that, in that report, I don't know, that seems to me to be a good amount of, I don't know if the right word is evidence for it.
Okay. Sure. I mean, it seems like you're like a lot of people seem to make this
people
claim.
say this thing at the expense of their professional careers.
Okay. And it's people who are taking risks too. That seems to be it.
Yes. Or at least as I perceive that.
Yeah. And Reed says, I've spent a lot of time working in HR. And in fact, I've had so many employees that seem to have delusional beliefs about the company. Like they believe that there are secret schemes going on, and they perceive this evidence that's just not there. I think all this is best explained by, there are lots of people out there. And really, even 1% of them talking about being visited by aliens, these people often seem normal that I run into in these companies, and they have these wild beliefs about what's going on in the company, just hidden basements and interdimensional things going on in the walls. And most of my interactions with them are quite normal. I think these people are like that. Is that a bad position for him to have, or is there something that he's really missing there?
I don't think that's a bad position. I'm trying to entertain that position to see what I think about that. I don't know if you can compare the two, only because I'm thinking of something like someone in HR having this idea about the company, which is completely removed from reality, versus someone who spends their time observing the sky and sees an anomaly and records it, and maybe other people are around as well.
Okay, so even having those groups of people, it's not isolated individuals, you're saying. What are you thinking of when you're thinking of the groups of people who've witnessed an anomaly?
Yeah, some of the groups can involve, in the 60s and 70s especially, there was a lot of activity around nuclear reactor sites and missile sites. And there's lots of corroboration between not only the people on site, but their commanding officers for first-person sightings, radar reports, actual craft coming, their reports of actual craft coming close to their station, observable. I don't know, that to me seems like there is some evidence in terms of, again, we're going back to like radar recording and
so you're like the psychosis explanation or the delusion explanation doesn't really cut it for me, because I don't think delusion usually hits groups of people. It seems to hit individuals. Is that part of what you're saying there?
That is part of what I'm saying, and as I say that, I realize that's not necessarily the case. Like, there's, I think that there's a lot of evidence of group hallucination or delusion happening, or examples of this, right?
Okay.
So maybe that is what's happening there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it sounds like having had these people witness things at sort of these places that almost feel alien, like nuclear power plants, and these people being sort of trustworthy people, nuclear scientists, people who have military bases, it seems like you're saying, well, the best explanation seems to be extraterrestrials.
Yes, or
Yeah.
some exactly
Yeah.
a higher intelligence from
Okay.
where I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Operating craft that I'm not sure where they come from.
yeah. And so I want to posit another person. I've got Dolly back here. He's the guy with the braided beard. And Dolly comes over and he says, well, I've seen the evidence with Patrick too. I was watching over your shoulder as you were showing Reed. And he looks at all of it and goes, well, I can see the groups being a little more convincing, but really, I think the best explanation is that all these sites that are getting visited are sites that are really interesting to other countries. Nuclear technology, military technology. I think other countries probably have these crafts that come and look at it, and they don't disclose anything about it, and people see bizarre things because we actually don't know much about the technologies of other countries or even our own country. So maybe there are secret technologies, and I think that's the best explanation. What is he missing? Why doesn't he have that credence of 80%, and do you think he ought to change it?
I totally see that point, and I think that it is a true statement that there is technology that we don't know about,
Okay.
and that we find out about 20, 30 years down the line, especially with aircraft technology. I think maybe what's missing there is that the extreme behavior that's reported by these craft is unlike, we don't have evidence of this anywhere. And if a country truly possessed this, they would become a military superpower because they have the ability to change course at 3,000 miles an hour and outmaneuver any typical military aircraft.
Okay. So it sounds like you're saying, I don't think that's a good explanation because I don't see this technology being used in other military applications where they would use it if they had that power. Is that sort of the
Yes, I
claim
think
there?
that's fair, yeah.
Okay. So that still leaves you saying, I think the best explanation, because 80% credence is like there's very little room for this to have other explanations. There may be other explanations, but you feel relatively confident that this is, each of these phenomena are probably best explained in each case by extraterrestrials, which leaves you with a high confidence that extraterrestrials have visited Earth.
Right.
So after this conversation, we've talked about a number of things, the way you've weighed evidence, how you think about alternative hypotheses, and what might even change your mind. Where's your level of confidence on it right now? Is it about the same, a little more, a little less?
It's about the same because it's funny, you had mentioned that 80 seems high, and I guess for me that gulf seems pretty, I don't know, that seemed like a big gulf to me still.
Yeah. I mean, I want to give you an example then,
Sure.
because this is a box of Tic Tacs, and I'm 100% certain that there's either an even or odd number in it. But if I put an 80% credence that it's an even number, I mean, I've probably counted the Tic Tacs, and I'm thinking I left them alone for a few minutes, and maybe someone ate one, maybe someone didn't, but I'm pretty confident no one did eat one because people don't usually eat them. So it seems like my 80% confidence would give me a pretty high degree of belief. I must have even counted it recently. Does that seem about the right way to use something like an 80% degree of confidence?
So sorry, in that example, you're saying that you had counted them?
I counted them, but I left them alone for a few minutes, so I'm still maybe like 80% confident that there's still an even number. I mean, maybe someone ate one when I wasn't looking. I'd give that there's a 20% chance of that.
Gotcha. And I'm sorry, and you're asking.
Does it that seems to be, that's sort of what I'm using to think about like an 80% degree of confidence, where it's like the only thing I'm 100% confident in is that there's either even or odd number of them. But
Gotcha.
That 80% confidence seems like, because even I have to put it 50, odd I have to put it 50 if I don't know it all, but 80% I'd probably get up to by something like counting it.
Yeah,
recently.
I think I could actually move this to 50 and feel a similar way that I do now, because
Okay.
I while I might feel that this is more likely or this might be the reason, I think that it's just as likely that I'm wrong about that.
Okay.
So I think that would be a more fair
Okay, so this is maybe even something where it's like the dial. I want to express that this is a hypothesis I take very seriously, but I think I could. It's just I feel more strongly about it than others because while others think it might be very unlikely, I think it's just as likely to be true or false.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like maybe something we did was clarify, but you still end up, you're saying my internal experience of how confident I am in this is pretty similar.
Yes, I feel like my confidence in it is similar. But
From the beginning to the end of the conversation.
yeah. Now what's funny is like I can say that it's 50% or that I move it to 50, but I realize that like by saying that I have confidence in it, I'm also exposing my bias, right? So I'm not actually like I don't treat things equally because I see them in the you know in the view of my opinions about them already.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know if I was presented with evidence to the contrary. I wonder if I would be as accepting of it or as ready to accept it as I would be evidence that confirms what is a long-held belief for me. That, yeah.
So noticing that confirmation bias in yourself, you say, is it possible I've ignored some evidence to the contrary, or that I might not even just like these alternative hypotheses as much as I like aliens?
Right, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really insightful thing to be able to notice in yourself. But yeah, I think that was a great conversation. I'm really glad we got to explore that with you.
Me too. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you guys are out here.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Patrick.
Of course.
If you want, I think you know, you can. We might have someone else show up. We might, if you want to talk about something else, that might be an option too. But it's up to you. I know we got you to stop, but
what do you want to talk about?
Here, let me turn it over to Reed. Reed's this is Reed's forte. I'm merely an amateur street epistemologist. But yeah.
That's good. No, you could have fooled me.
Yeah, I fool you because my day job, I'm a psychotherapist, so I talk to people a lot.
Gotcha.
But,
okay.
Fooled us too.
Huh? I'm a what?
Fooled us too.
Fooled us too. Yeah, fooled us. Yeah. Where did my sanitizer go?
I'm interested. How long have you known about street epistemology, and how did you learn about it?
I started watching it probably at the beginning of COVID, actually.
Oh, wow.
It came up as a recommendation during the Atheist Experience podcast video, you know. And then I just started watching it. And I thought it was interesting, especially as he talked to lots of Mormons and people I haven't really heard their opinions about things before. So
you watched the Atheist Experience and then saw just a recommended video for Anthony's video?
Right, exactly. I think the YouTube algorithm
Amazing.
Made that come up, but...
And then you possibly saw one of my videos?
Yep, exactly. But are you LA based or?
I am.
Okay.
I just got back. I left at the beginning of COVID, and now I'm back. I just got back a few days ago. Excited to get back into doing more street epistemology and doing more interviews.
Gotcha, cool, yeah.
But that's great. That's just so cool that you recognize the sign and the logo. And we'll try to be here, you know, at least maybe this spot or somewhere else. There's a meetup group for LA street epistemology, and I post there wherever I go to give people a heads up. So if you want to practice it yourself, if you're interested in skepticism and stuff.
I don't know if I could if I would have the patience for that. I don't know if I'd be able to ask the right questions. I think. I think that might be the problem.
Yeah, it takes some practice to shoot your messengers and learn.
And not follow people down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, don't follow down a rabbit hole.
Well, you're a good interlocutor because you were very focused on your topic, and you actually had you had a good idea of what your evidence was and were willing to change your views if the evidence changed. So there's not a lot of bringing you back to the idea of truth because you've got a pretty clear idea of it already. So I don't know.
At least
there
my idea of it.
Sorry.
Oh, I just said at least my idea of the truth. Right?
I mean, we didn't spend much time on truth itself, but I felt like part of that was I don't know. Did you feel I missed something there? Would you have steered?
I don't think you need to go that deep. I think it's you understood what evidence meant and stuff like that. So
yeah.
And anecdotal. He said anecdotal. That's a pretty good sign that he knows what types of evidence and stuff. It was good.
Right.
Yeah, like that.
And also things that I see might be evidence. I'm just calling, we call things evidence, but it's not actually evidence. It's just something that confirms our bias. And that might be explain this much of the,
I guess like the rigorous definition is like observation that is exclusive to one hypothesis and one hypothesis only, as opposed to other hypotheses. Yeah, but I don't know. I could be wrong with that.
Gotcha.
But it's great. What was your name again?
Patrick.
Patrick, thank you, Patrick, for stopping by.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank you. We were live on Twitch. I hope that was okay.
That's okay.
And I'll probably make a clip later or highlight, and it'll be on my social media.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah. Thanks.
So I just put these here. I know you might have to.
We'll sanitize them.
Great.
Amazing.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Hey, good to meet you, Patrick.
Yes, he almost left without a gear piece. Well, that was fantastic. Very, very cool.
Like he's already familiar with.
Yeah, he already knows about the Anthony thing. He should get a gear piece.
I don't know what you call him.
Yeah. Oh, did you fail to do so?
He had to look at the weather and find out it was getting
Huh.
low.
It feels below 80.
It does.
Yeah. I think we might be pushing 20 centigrade for myself, whereas that's the bottom of my not wearing an extra layer kind of number. But pretty soon we'll be packing up this gig. The next question I'm going to float after they're continuing to talk to Patrick, and I have no desire to speed that up or push that. Maybe I should.
Are certain races better at certain skills merely because of their race?
Yeah. So those
Good
are
place to
ones
stop
that I
in on
think
there.
would
Wow.
be- like I would be frightened.
Yeah.
Yes, I
even
did.
asking gentle questions about those.
Are the police a unique threat to Black lives?
Are the police a unique threat to Black lives?
Okay.
But then I'm trying to think of the follow-up questions that could come out of that.
Oh, you have the whole image that you can zoom in and out on? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, are trans women really women?
Yeah.
You've had that up a number of times too, right?
Yeah.
So you've actually talked to people about that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Is it possible to
Very
self-identify
pretty
as a
dog.
different gender than your sex, would suggest, and not be mistaken?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Good question. Should the U.S. pay reparations to anyone?
You do a good job of keeping your questions relatively neutral, I think.
I try.
Yeah, I have not seen one where I feel like that is a leading question.
Yeah. Should we always believe women who say they were raped? That's spicy.
That's one that's like people would be offended that you raised that as a question, but I
Yeah.
feel like that is a relatively neutral question.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah,
could just
yeah.
say yes.
Yeah.
There's definitely things I don't know if I would answer them, like on camera.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
because maybe I don't know enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it ethical to limit immigration to preserve a culture? I like that one. Lots of stuff.
Well, what's funny is like you'll have questions like that, and they're starting points. And I think what a lot of people might do, which is kind of dangerous, is they'll start to answer the questions that they don't know anything about. Like,
Sure.
if I, you know, if I'm not an expert or
Right, I can't really hear Patrick, and he's well away from the mic.
Yeah. It depends on what level you are in the confidence. If you're at 50 or 0 or 10, then that's an easy way to justify where you are. It's like,
With an open-ended question, it's hard to say, like, what are the options on offer? Because if they're, even if I'm saying I'm uncertain, like, you know, are there more or less plausible options?
Yeah.
Like, so then considering there's options on offer, like yes or no, should I assume that there are differences between groups? Well, should I take the null hypothesis, no difference between groups? Should that be my baseline assumption? And then only evidence to the contrary moves me away from the null hypothesis?
You're finding that Gigi is finding that she would like to learn to dig more without fearing loss of rapport. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I just think
Yeah,
null hypothesis, and there I am, asleep.
I'm working on that a lot,
I wake up the next day and I say,
and I don't know where that balance is.
investigating whether there's a difference between these groups.
yeah.
I'm curious, like, how many Scientologists have you come across in your LA experience?
I know I came across one who was a former one.
Okay.
I don't know. I could have probably come across a bunch, but I have not explicitly.
It's not been a topic.
Oh, I wonder if you could set up on the sidewalk outside of Church of Scientology.
Maybe.
You could try it. Their security is pretty.
Yeah.
Well, sidewalk's public area.
Are you saying you're a
But they are
Scientologist?
pretty hard.
No, but I bet so.
Yeah.
I'm not. Although, yeah, the alien. I see how you might be confused.
Yeah, like you should be hired if you're a Scientologist. So anyway.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a good day.
You too, later.
See you around.
Hey, catch you later, man. Did you wipe this down already?
No.
Okay. Here.
So
Can you put the Discord back?
we are 32 minutes from a hard stop.
Can you,
Okay, so we're gonna break.
Yeah, I think we can wrap up here. I'm gonna put the Discord
Okay,
back on.
we're gonna break.
Yeah, I think we can wrap
Very
it up
good.
here. Mute my Twitch, please. I'm gonna put
Okay.
the Discord back on.
We're gonna break. Muting Twitch. My audio is robot-y. I will reset and be right back. Okay, well, if you guys are going to talk in there, I'm going to bring the Twitch back up so I can hear you.
Yeah.
I asked him
Yep.
what would increase your confidence, and that got him to talk about personal experience. But then, what keeps you from going higher is a different way to phrase it that I think would actually elicit a different response. So I actually like that alternate phrasing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What else? It seems like I like what you did, but you kind of, by proxy, send some messages, like send some counter arguments by like saying if Reed said this, or if
Yeah.
came up and said
Yep.
you gave Reed your evidence and he said no because of this reason. That's kind of like using a question to bring up a counter argument.
Yeah.
but it seemed
Yep.
to be fine for rapport. That's it's not
He
like
was
you.
okay with it, and
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, like even putting it on a body so he's imagining it's not me questioning him
Yeah.
would maybe be a little helpful.
Yeah.
I was a little conscious, like, yeah, counter arguments in general bring up a bit resistance, but I think that you have to bring up some issues about alternative hypotheses, and I'm not sure whether you find that there's a more effective way to bring up, like, what
You
about?
could have asked, what is the second best explanation for the evidence you've
Oh,
seen?
okay, that's actually, yeah, I like that. What are other? So, have you ever heard other explanations? What's the second best explanation?
If you had to imagine the second best explanation
For
for
what?
whatever, for ideally get to a specific piece of evidence. Like, what is your best? What is the best piece of evidence for
Okay.
this claim? And is it an anecdote from someone, or is it a video from someone? And if we saw the video,
Okay.
and he's saying it's aliens, what hypothetically could we learn to not count that as evidence of aliens
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah. No, that makes sense, and that actually clarifies some of street epistemology to me, because it's like, it makes it really obvious. You're not the one coming up with the hypothesis. You're asking them questions to get them to come up with the alternative hypothesis. You're getting them to build their epistemology. You're not forcing it on them.
Yeah, I have my preferred hypothesis.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, like, if I give that might give a defensive posture. It's not like probably something that's core to his identity. I can really tell.
Yeah.
It seems 80.
Well,
So-
he seemed to be that, like, yeah, like, I can, as much as he said, I'm sure there's something that would make me, that I would defend out of an emotional place. I got the sense he wasn't really that kind of person compared to the average person who sits down.
Yeah, you can also, like, probe for the psychological commitment to whatever it is. Like, if you found out to your satisfaction this wasn't true, would that matter to you at all?
Okay.
Like, get it like a little deeper than like
Okay,
a real
yeah.
reason or an epistemic, or like down to psychology.
Yeah, and at the end he admitted he'd be pretty disappointed if it wasn't true. He kind of wants it to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like that. Get him to come up with his own alternative hypotheses and ask him not just what would make your thing go higher, but what's keeping you from making it go higher.
Yeah.
Both of those are really good pieces of feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Let's go to
Yeah.
Discord for some more feedback. So feel free to mute
Yes.
Twitch. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I'm
Discord.
going to mute Twitch. Yeah, during that, I was getting feedback from Discord that rapport was off the scale. We were getting lots and lots of, wow, we need to learn from Eric. I'm serious. And I was part of that cheerleading squad too.
Eric says no way. Huh?
Yeah. Ah, yes, thank you.
What was going right that other
Eric's asking what seemed to work with that rapport. Like,
yeah, what was going right that other people say that's what he did, or that was the moment rapport was built? Because I also want people to clarify this is what built the rapport, so I can build the rapport. I want to be able to teach it. I want other people to be able to learn from it.
Yeah, I don't know specifically for myself. I saw it mostly as a question of tone and just the timing of speech and that kind of thing, the camaraderie of it. I don't think it was a specific set of words. I'm not speaking for anybody else in the chat on that. They can type themselves.
yeah, there was that very calming. Like if you didn't even speak the language, you would feel the tone of like
feedback.
This is a very casual, non-confrontational thing we're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just really cool about it.
Good.
Conversations with someone who's brand new, because I've had people walk into the office where I'm like, are they coming off meth? And I've got to have a conversation with them about what's been going on recently. Why are you here?
Yeah, you've practiced talking to people a lot.
I
Yeah,
practiced talking with some interestingly difficult people.
yeah.
Yeah.
This should be a cakewalk.
Like very few of these people are coming down off meth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Eric, for coming.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm trying to think myself. Am I broadcasting on Discord or Twitch at all or no?
To my Twitch and Juggling's Discord through, and that's
Yeah.
on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'd say there were a couple things I noticed myself doing that are supposed to be rapport builders. One of them is eye contact, which you do during your discussions. Another one is sometimes like being able to like lean forward and even show that like physical interest, like, yeah, I'm really listening. So like forward trunk lean can be a little bit of it, like relaxed body posture in general, which we call an open body posture. Oh, and there goes my button on my shirt as I say that.
Too open.
Yeah, too open, that body posture. But other things are vocal. Sometimes on, like just even that little like grunt of affirmation will let people know they're heard.
Yeah.
I've seen therapists who do that too much, and they go. I was in a guy's office like that once, and I was like, "How do people speak to you?" But being able to space different affirmations, oh, okay, that like, oh, like goes, oh, I got something you were saying, and the people goes, oh, he's really listening. I did just say something that was really clever.
Yeah, I think there's something called like minimal encouragers from hostage negotiations.
Yeah.
Which is probably similar to what you're saying.
That's we call them encouragers.
Okay.
Yep, I think that was how it was in textbooks, but it's been a long time since I read those textbooks.
Okay.
And then, yeah, there are things like I didn't do this with him, but repeating the last word of their sentence. Radar. Okay, and you seem like really like you have to like emote it. Radar. And you like make it with your face. Joe Rogan actually does that a lot. He does a really curious like, yeah. Radar, and you hit him with the bow. Like you just pull that string back, yeah. And like people just are going like, oh, he's really excited to hear about this. I'm gonna tell him more. So showing a little bit of excitement, like, but not like you don't totally want to fake it. Like I'm not gonna do it if I'm not feeling it, but if I'm feeling it, I'll play it up like a little bit and try and still be authentic, but just really show what I'm feeling as I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. One of the things that would be rapport breakers would be arguing directly against him.
Yeah.
And from my position, and I think it's really good feedback that that's a way to break rapport.
Yeah. And you could have explored his unread library, like getting really specific of like who and where and what point. When was that video uploaded?
Yeah, that was something that he referenced, was like there are certain people he sees as really credible. And so that sounded like it was important to him, and that one was worth exploring more. But the example that he stuck to as the best evidence was actually like a good example, like a document signed by hundreds of people who are military people who had their careers on the line, and like I don't know, that's a pretty good example.
Very good.
Yeah.
Sweet. Any other comments, Dolly?
Yes. One was, it was tone for me and calm, chill manner in regards to rapport. And Solomar says, maybe keeping rapport and digging further can be done by empathizing with the fear of the unknown while still saying, but that doesn't change that you could be wrong. It's scary, I know, but you could be wrong.
Activity to this. Okay, go ahead.
Those guys are hitting on something that's a great rapport builder, which is both empathizing with feeling and even identifying feelings. So if he ever said something like, well, I just think it would be exciting if aliens were there, and you go like, oh, so it's a really exciting thing to think about aliens. And then, yeah, that's a good place to bump into epistemology, where it's like, oh, so you're really excited about this. You're hoping it could be true. Like he would feel really hurt in that moment because we were like, we showed we get what he's feeling. But it would also be, is there anything you've ever been excited about that turned out not to be true? Like, you were really hoping that the tooth fairy was real and you were going to keep getting money the rest of your life, and it was a really exciting thing. I don't know if it's a good idea to bring up the tooth fairy or whether that's arguing against either.
Maybe that might doing some defensive posture, but maybe
No,
something.
yeah. I'm so stuck in this habit of bringing up the alternative hypothesis myself.
It's hard for I love the outsider test questions, but for aliens, it's hard to bring up something. Do you use Bigfoot? Do you use Loch Ness Monster? do you use ghosts? Like if we had a whatever, what was that document called?
It was. It's on the notes there. It's with 100 next to it or below it.
Disclosure report.
Yeah.
If tomorrow some like a group of like 500 people put out a disclosure report about ghost sightings from the government.
Oh, okay.
Would that be a good reason to believe in ghosts?
Yeah. For a hypothesis that he probably doesn't believe in, or another hypothesis,
aliens are a natural claim. Like maybe Bigfoot.
Yeah, you'd want it to be something like, let's say 500 government employees put out a memo that birds aren't real. Would that change your confidence about the reality of birds? And then you're sort of wondering, is birds aren't real as similarly extraordinary a claim as aliens are real? Because some of it has to do with the extraordinariness of the claim, because there are some claims that would just make me go, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
I lost confidence in these people.
Maybe another question is like, with this quantity and quality of evidence we have for aliens,
Yeah.
if we shifted that over to something else, what is that something that we would just not be reasonable to believe with the same quality and quantity of evidence?
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to go to, and I actually forgot. I put a note down there that there were he said the sheer number of people who reported. And I wanted to ask him, are there things that lots of credible people seem to believe that you think are false?
Yeah.
And then you might go into, oh, well, there are Scientologists who seem like rather serious people, but I don't believe what they say.
Yeah.
So if 100 Scientologists who all work for the government came out and said, this is a government document, says Scientology is true, would that change your confidence in Scientology?
Yeah. Can you guys hear us okay? Hopefully.
Moderately. We will do it a lot better next time because I have some plans that I hope we do. And we'll figure it out from there. It's been marginal as far as being able to hear both of you in Discord.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Our masks.
Yeah, I would expect I come in a lot clearer through the mixer.
Yeah. Hitting up 3 hours. Well, how long we've been going?
I thought
3 hours, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Cool. Yep, and my stream is 3:08 at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we will be back probably next week at some point somewhere.
Yeah.
Just follow us on social media.
So I'm going to go through my little outro here and say, here are 5 of my favorite street epistemology related channels. You'll notice Cordial Curiosity is right there in the middle. Anthony's right there on the one end that Patrick knew about. Patrick walked up, saw the logo on the sign and said, woohoo, Anthony thing, because he's a fan of Atheist Experience.
Packing up or?
Sure.
So that part works. I'm gonna
help
mute the Twitch. And anyway, so here's recommended SE channels. Those are really cool. If you are really into, oh, I'm gonna mute Twitch here. If you are really into,
wrapping,
oh, they're coming in through Discord.
Put them together and fold it.
Reed,
keep folding until it's like 3 or 4 inches.
Reed, could you cut your Discord feed?
Is this not what you're looking for?
Turn off your mic. So if you're really into, this is different than I expected. Whether you can see it or not, if you're really into this method of street epistemology, I recommend going to streetepistemology.com, where so many of the community's contributions are organized and presented. This is presented by Street Epistemology International, that also provide the Street Epistemology podcast for those of you who like your epistemology stuck right in your ear, audio only. So that's also another really good place for that. And then, last but not least, if you would like to be a guest on my show for this kind of live SE commentary or any other of the 8 categories that I have regarding street epistemology, all I ask is that you be articulate, polite, willing to show your face, and stay on a topic about SE, and I really look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.